Juliana Chanty, a.k.a. Chaunce, has hiked the PCT, AT, CT, JMT, Ozark Highland Trail, Foothills Trail, and Northville Placid Trail. She has co-hosted Backpacker Radio for more than 8 years and provided what some could argue is more than half of the spunk and pizzazz that makes it into most episodes, despite her penchants for never cleaning her car and sending outlandish idea texts in the middle of the night. She is a huge yet physically tiny part of the Backpacker Radio team. Welcome to Backpacker Radio, presented by The Trek, brought to you by Topo Athletic. I'm your co-host, Zach Badger Davis. Sitting to my right is...
Hi, I'm Juliana Chanty, a.k.a. Chaunce.
And she's cold.
Yeah, what happened to Denver this week? We went to open the pool, and then all of a sudden, it's below freezing at night, and I am thankful that I didn't pack all my jackets yet. I thought that was a silly move, but I guess I was smart.
This is one of those instances where what's good for the area is at a stark juxtaposition to what's good for the human skin temperature.
Yeah. Fortunately, the dryness hasn't compounded with the cold yet to just really set me into a crusty crumble.
It's been wet.
It has been wet.
I saw that we got more precipitation in like a 2 or 3 day span than we had the previous 6 months, or some outrageous stat.
It's a nice beer.
Yeah, hams. Chaunce is enjoying a hams right now. It takes me back to my Wisconsin days.
Yeah. Goes down smooth.
Hams is one of the better shitty beers, in my opinion. We should do a shitty beer Triple Crown one of these days.
Yeah, well, you're running out of Triple Crown.
We are running out of Triple Crown time. We'll squeeze that one in. But yeah, it's cold in here and outside. But good news for, I think, fire risk in the area.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah.
Take a win.
Reminders, got a handful of them. The first one is a real bummer to say, but... our buddy, former guest of Backpacker Radio, recently had a stroke. Akuna. What episode number is that? Akuna, Backpacker Radio. Longtime listeners will obviously be very familiar with Akuna. He had an excellent interview on the show, and we learned recently via social media that he had a stroke, which is obviously terrible. It sounds like he's going to have a road back to regaining full function, but... The reason I'm sharing this is because he has set up a fundraiser and wanted to shout that out. I imagine it's going to be hard for him to do anything work-related anytime soon, so the support of the backpacking community would be greatly appreciated. We will include the link to the fundraiser in the show notes here, but yeah, sending healthy, healing vibes Akuna's way. Akuna is just, we were talking about him in a recent podcast. Yeah. He's just the sweetest guy of all time.
I know. You'll have to send me that link. I haven't seen news of it yet, but yeah, nicest guy. Best Akuna story in regards to the podcast is that we recorded this like in the 2020 time frame for when his episode went out, so it was remote. And we got like an hour and a half into the interview, and then Zach realized he didn't hit record.
Yes.
And that's the only time we've ever done that. We might have done it one other time.
It's certainly it was the most egregious.
It was the worst. It was basically we finished the episode and Zach went to press stop, and then he realized that we didn't press record. And Akuna was so nice about it. He redid the entire interview and like acted like it wasn't a big deal. So yeah, if anyone deserves some positivity sent their way, it's him. So manifest positive things and check out the link if you have it within your means.
Yes.
To do so.
I'm going to say the URL just because that's always better. It's buymeacoffee.com/Akuna-Hikes5. Yeah, I'm always so happy to see him at the trail events. He honestly is just a ray of sunshine. So if you have the means, please do support him. Next is we are hosting a live podcast. This is the Chaunce Sendoff special. This is going down in Denver on June 26th. Doors are at 6. The show begins at 6:30. We've got a fun lineup of surprise guests, surprises of all kinds. But this, more important than anything else, this is a celebration of our sweet, sweet Chaunce.
Yes, this is literally a send-off. We are doing this on Friday night, the 26th, and then on Saturday, we're packing up the house, and on Sunday, we are gone. So this isn't like one of those cute, like, we're doing it on this day, and then, like, weeks will pass, and then I leave kind of thing. This is literally, I'm out the door. I'm not going to have furniture in my house when we do this. So moods will be high. Excitement will be there. I have no idea what to expect. Elise asked me a question about it the other day, and I was like, I have had my head in the sand when it comes to planning this thing, which is more fun for me. So Yeah, I would love to see you all. It's been a fun ride. I can sit in this chair without someone to listen on the other side of the rope. So, it would be nice to see you all and say goodbye and give hugs and, just really go out with a bang. So, yeah, if you aren't doing anything Friday the 26th, come hang out with us.
Yeah. If you haven't been to one of our live podcasts, they are very fun. And this one will definitely, I think, take the cake. So
yeah,
if you can make it, please make it.
And it's very much a hangout after the podcast, too. Yeah. Like, it's a sit and watch the podcast, and then, like, we stay and drink, and you stay and drink, and then we all hang out. It's great
and then
times.
we're hungover for 2 days.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
It's not my favorite part.
But yes, the link to get that will be in the show notes. Next is, if you want to snag some very dope Backpacker Radio merchandise, we've got shirts, tank tops, crew necks. I think that's it.
Hoodies?
I don't think there's a hoodie.
I didn't think there was a crew neck. There's definitely t-shirts. I'm wearing one. And there's definitely tank tops. I remember seeing one.
I'll be able to find the link later. Not important right now.
There's things. Here's the thing. If you're not going to get one because you wanted a hoodie, just let us know. We'll just enable the hoodie button real quick,
I don't think you can do that mid-campaign, so...
Never mind. But let us know so that next time there's something like that, they can take into account that you only wear hoodies.
Yeah. Oh, actually, the campaign is going to end before this comes out. If the campaign goes well, we'll keep it running for a second campaign.
Here.
How about that? But, yeah, the shirts are very cool. Chaunce is wearing it right now.
You can't see the back because I'm not taking off my sweater.
The design part is on the back. You'll just have to take our word for it. Or check out the Backpacker Radio social media. Or go to Bonfire. Jesus, where'd the fucking link go?
Links.
See page. Bonfire.com/can-u-dig-it-15 to get the shirt.
When you apply for a house, do you get like 1 million people a day starting to call you about your personal loan inquiry?
Oh, God, yeah.
They won't stop.
You're going to get on a spam list.
Do you want to talk to Sanchez? He's calling now.
I'm sure Sanchez is a very nice guy, but tell him to fuck off on my behalf.
I would like for him to fuck off on my behalf, too.
Yeah.
Fifth one today.
But yeah, moral of the story is get yourself a Backpacker Radio shirt. It is very cool. Next is, I don't like saying this, but I have to say it, is if you're interested in serving as a guest co-host for Backpacker Radio, please submit yourself. We have a short little form for you to do that. Most of the episodes will be the familiar faces around here, the Elises, Jess, Katie, Viking, probably a name or two I'm forgetting on that list, but I want to get a nice little carousel through here. I want people that enjoy the fun that is sitting in Chaunce's seat. So if you think you've got the chops, or you are local to Golden or will be passing through, you can submit yourself as a co-host through that form.
No comment.
You inhaled, so I wanted to give you space.
It's fine. I have space.
Yeah. But the more important thing is patreon.com/backpackerradio is where you can go to support this show. But more importantly, moving forward, this is going to be the old Badger and Chaunce sandbox. This is where we're going to test stuff. We're going to keep our content going in some capacity. It'll be some combination of Chaunce running solo stuff out in North Carolina. We'll do some Zoom stuff, though admittedly I hate Zoom, but I like Chaunce enough to do that.
Thanks, you're so kind.
I really do. I hate Zoom more than anything, but like I said, I make an exception for you, even though you're abandoning us.
It's fine. It's fine. Whatever. Yeah, I'll be on Patreon. BPR, Backpacker Radio, but Patreon remote. AKA Chaunce's Cave. Come hang out. And yeah, I'll be there, waiting for you. So come hang out, and
have you started soliciting people?
No, we haven't ironed out any details yet.
The house looked nice enough. You could probably carve out your own little individual studio there, whether it's for this or hiking from home or
Mile by Mile is gonna get Mile by Mile is gonna get a recommitment of my effort with the free time, so that's gonna be nice to do. But I don't know. Maybe.
Just put it all on Garrett's credit card. Be like, you're making me do this.
The problem is it's our credit card now.
Well, now it is, but
because we're married. So yeah. Anywho, yeah, I'll be on Patreon. Can't wait to see you there. We're still figuring out exact details around that.
we're gonna let the dust settle. We're
Yeah.
gonna let you move and
Yeah.
slide on in. But
Yeah, there's no way I'm looking for potential guests for it before I even live in a house.
we should get a remote interview on the calendar for like
what, you and I?
Yeah, like mid-July-ish.
Yeah, I think so. We have parents coming the 3rd through the 10th, so after the 10th would work.
Cool. Yeah, we're learning this as you guys are learning this.
Yeah.
Chaunce has got life stuff, so we're going to prioritize life stuff. But we would be remiss if we haven't done too many solo podcasts, because my general philosophy in this world is that people don't need that much more of me.
They get a lot of us on the segments.
Yeah, I agree. But with our days being limited and this opportunity becoming increasingly more rare, I thought it would be fun to just do a nice old-fashioned solo pod. And what solo pod would be a solo pod without Rachel's wonderful introduction?
Here, here.
Which is Juliana Chanty, a.k.a. Chaunce, has hiked the PCT, AT, CT, JMT, Ozark Highland Trail, Foothills Trail, and Northville Placid Trail. She has co-hosted Backpacker Radio for more than 8 years and provided what some could argue is more than half of the spunk and pizzazz that makes it into most episodes, despite her penchants for never cleaning her car and sending outlandish idea texts in the middle of the night. She is a huge yet physically tiny part of the Backpacker Radio team. That was mostly nice.
That was nice.
That was nicer than I was expecting from Rachel.
There was nothing mean there.
She did take a jab at your car, but
yeah, but like
that's low hanging fruit.
There had to be something in here. That was great.
That's true.
A+, Rachel.
That's true.
You get a raise.
Yeah, that's gonna be a new theme here.
Everyone's getting raises.
Chaunce is just spending money she doesn't have. Okay. Where do we start? Some of the obvious questions. I know Rachel has done an excellent job. I will say the question preparation side has gotten lighter as you and I think, have gotten better at interviewing. We've needed less to lean on, but Rachel is back to her old ways with this one.
She really gave us a lot of bullet points.
Because she realized that it's awkward because neither of us are necessarily the most prone to be talking about ourselves. So she gave us some good prompts here. I think Rachel did a really nice job.
Yeah, I agree. We also just had a therapy episode. So
that was you and Jabba. I was not really present on that episode.
Yeah, well, I just had apparently a therapy episode, so another one in a row is great.
Yeah, I'm hoping everyone skipped that one, but
I do too.
This one I think will be less contentious. We won't even reference the old one. That one didn't exist.
Great.
Okay. First one. This is the only one I think that is me focused. These are going to be we, but I think it is appropriate to tell the story of Backpacker Radio because I run the trek, and that is appropriate.
You started with Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time. Zach, tell us about your initial idea for the podcast and how you decided you wanted a co-host.
Now is when you would say Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
You don't say Once Upon a Time before you ask the question.
Well, I was going to go all the way back to when my parents banged because that's where it really all started.
Right.
There was a flicker.
Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Davis.
I have been a long time consumer of podcasts. I'm not doing the hipster thing of I was doing this first, but legitimately on the AT 2011 drink, I was listening to podcasts near daily. And this is before I think most people even knew that podcasts existed. It wasn't a medium in the pop culture sphere by any stretch of the imagination. I wasn't the only person on trail listening to podcasts because I remember having, I think it was Sprout and Spark. We were talking about listening to stuff you should know. But I know amongst my friend group, none of them even knew what podcasts were. The podcast app on the iPhone was something that was buried on the last page. You might have even had to have downloaded it at the time. I think it was native. Moral of the story, I'm getting off trail here. Is I've always loved podcasts, and this could even go all the way back to my love of AM radio. In high school, I would sneak in a Walkman with a threaded headphone and lean on my hand and listen to 670 The Score. Specifically, Boers and Bernstein was my go-to back in the day. Talk radio has been a huge part of my life. I used to go to remote recordings down in Bourbonnais, which is where the Bears would have their training camp. We would go to their live recordings at various bars. I've just always liked the concept of radio in general. So the seed has been planted for that for a very long time. That being said, I never considered myself to be that personality. I didn't want to be in the foreground of this. So I made the attempt by bringing on a couple of other podcasts that were already in the hiking sphere onto the trek, both of which I thought were really good, Pox and Puss, and Sounds of the Trail, spearheaded by Gary Sizer. I don't think either of them are in operation right now, but like that was just a show of my love of podcasts in general. I was a fan of both of those shows very much. But the thing that I think that those podcasts didn't scratch the itch for me personally, was like the in-person nature of a good conversation. I knew that I wanted to create a podcast that had an in-person component to it, because in my opinion, I think that's where the magic of a good conversation comes from. Again, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, I hate Zoom so much. That I at least wanted to give a shot at creating a podcast, because I just wanted to create something that existed in person. Fast forward to 2017, finished the PCT. We had hosted one of our first hiker meetups, which, unbeknownst to everyone there, was my attempt at auditioning people for co-hosts of Backpacker Radio. I didn't make this known at all. This was literally like...
No, I had no idea.
I was going around trying to catch vibes with as many people as possible to see like who could carry the most interesting conversation. Chaunce had the advantage of her and I having met prior to that meetup, prior to the Pacific Crest Trail, a couple of months before you embarked. I had put, I think, a post out on Facebook asking if anyone had experience with video work. At the time, I'm sure this has been said, beaten to death on this podcast at this point, but Jabba and I had very serious intentions of creating a documentary from our Thru-Hike of the PCT. And me starting from scratch, not knowing the fucking first thing about operating cameras, I was willing to meet up with anyone who would share any advice to me whatsoever. And Chaunce was on the short list of people that did that. Chaunce, I'll let you take that part of it.
We just met on a mountain, and I told you how the buttons worked.
Yeah. It wasn't, I don't know if I could pull apart any specific piece of advice that you gave me.
It was all very general.
Yeah, it was very general. But I mean, at the time, with how little that I knew, anything that you could have said would have been information to me. So it was appreciated. I also want to give a shout out to my buddy Woody, who he's a professional videographer and took me out on several hikes and showed me the ropes. So I feel like I'm mildly competent at video now because of this. But that was my first introduction to Chaunce. She was also a blogger for the Trek at the time.
Did 3 blogs.
3 blog posts. But it was nice to at least have the background of knowing Chaunce mildly, meeting out at North Table Mountain. I think we grabbed a beer after that. Mm-hmm. We crossed paths, I should say, at Timberline Lodge. I was hiking south. You were hiking north on PCT 2017. And then, once I had made the decision to start a podcast, that hiker meetup served as the unofficial audition. And I don't remember any of our conversation, but apparently it was impressive enough that I thought that Chaunce should be the person that served as the co-host.
I would love to know what we talked about.
I'm sure it was alcohol infused in some capacity.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What on earth could I have been saying?
Yeah. But a story that I have shared on this podcast many times was to officially kick things off. I wanted to go over conceptually what I thought Backpacker Radio could be. So we scheduled a meetup at a a local taco spot in Denver, and I specifically said there are multiple locations. Meet at this location.
I don't know. That's out for debate in the
No,
jury still.
It certainly is not.
I haven't seen receipts.
We'll call the meeting time at 6:30. It's 6:35. I'm there. And I'm like, where are you? And then I get a text back from Chaunce. She's like, where are you? I'm like, I am the place that we're supposed to be. You're like, so am I. Moral of the story is you're at the wrong place of the right chain. Was it tequila?
Taco Tequila's whiskey.
Yeah. So that really set the stage for how the early days of Backpacker Radio was going to go. Is that I knew that you were a wild card, but it was like riding a bucking bronco. You had to learn how to tame the bucking bronco because...
Did you tame it?
I think you tamed yourself, but through...
shame?
Through some consistent feedback, we'll say.
Okay.
But yeah, no, you're way more reliable than you were back in those early days. We can get to this, but you were almost not the co-host of Backpacker Radio.
Yeah. Well, there was one episode where I accidentally got drunk before.
Yeah.
Wasn't the plan.
That would have been fine, honestly. It was that you showed up an hour late drunk.
Yeah, the Uber wouldn't come.
Yeah.
They kept canceling on me, and I couldn't drive myself because I had drank. So
Yeah.
I was really in a pickle.
Yeah. No, you were on thin ice at that point.
Yeah, that's fair.
In my book. But you definitely have leveled up.
Nonetheless, she persisted.
She persisted. And she persassed. So yes, that was how you decided you wanted to co-host. I knew I always wanted a co-host. And specifically, I wanted a female co-host. I know that there's so many backpackers out there that are obviously female, and me speaking to a bunch of female backpackers would not be interesting. So that was that.
You've been fun on the girl stuff, given that personality in the
I appreciate that.
not knowing the girl stuff.
But I think for a long period of time, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just human nature that you're going to
I
connect
agree.
better with people that you more closely associate with. Honeymoon, yeah, we got that one. First impressions of each other, bonus points if they turned out to be wildly incorrect. First impressions of Chaunce. I didn't get much, honestly, from that first meeting. I didn't get a ton other than you seemed not the most prepared for the PCT, which is normal for a first-time through hike. You probably were more prepared for the PCT than I was for the AT. That's not a personality trait. That's just a normal backpacking thing.
I was more prepared for the PCT than I was the AT. Well, not mentally, but I had done more pre-prep.
Yeah. But there's no way you were more prepared. You had through hike under your belt.
No, yeah. But I had done more pre-work. The
Yeah.
AT, I didn't know where anything was. I
Yeah.
just showed up.
Yeah. First impressions beyond that is, wild card.
Yeah.
Chaotic, but in a good way. I thought in a way that makes for interesting audio.
Yeah, I don't know if I had any notable first impression that stuck with me long enough to remember it distinctly. I think it just we started this and there was 6 months that went by before we had an advertiser on. So, some guy asks you to do a podcast with him and you start one and it's, in your basement and unpaid for there's no expectations there. It's not like it was oh, I got hired for this job and I'm really nervous about it. My first day tomorrow. It wasn't any of that because it wasn't. I wasn't getting paid, and we weren't. No one was listening, and we were in a basement, and so it was the stakes here are very low. So I feel like the only thing I remember is just a nonchalance about if it doesn't work, so what? But if it does work, that's fun. So I think not having expectations was probably helpful.
Yeah, agreed. Which is a perfect segue to the next question here, but expectations about the longevity or success. I typically go into, especially back then, I went into things with a very low bar, especially serving as the host. I didn't want to set some expectation that this was going to be a huge thing. Also, the idea of a hiking podcast, which podcasts have since become more popular, but at the time they were still even more niche than they are today. And just hiking, long distance backpacking, through hiking is an incredibly niche subject. I don't even know what a big, if you got as popular as you could be, what that even looks like. So for me personally, I wanted to create something that was fun. If I'm going to spend time doing this, if it's going to fail, I want to fail creating something that would be a conversation that you'd hear around the campfire outside of a shelter on the AT, basically. I don't want people's guards up. I don't want people to be too polished. I don't want this to be an NPR production because that was neither of our skill sets. The expectation was let's just put this out into the universe and we'll get feedback as to whether this works or not. But I never had expectations for it to get big.
Yeah, I think I didn't have expectations for it to get big, and I didn't have expectations about like when we go to PCT days and people recognize us. That still to me is like, but when we had talked about like we even though we didn't have sponsors in the beginning 6 months, we had talked about what does it look like should that happen, and I remember we had something where we had some test numbers on it where it was like, if it got to this, it could mean this. And so I remember when we got our first sponsor of Sawyer, thinking like, oh my god, if it gets to this, it could be this. And they're like the excitement of like, and this is me when I'm in my 20s being like, and if it gets to that, then I can just go hike in the summer, and I can go hike, and I can do this, and then I don't have to do graphic design, and I can just hike. So I think I didn't have expectations of it getting big, but I think I had hopes. I think I had hopes about the success of it, and that like if it could get to that place, like I could live out the dream that every hiker has, where it's like I could just do this all day. But when you get to like reality, and it's like, well, if you're self-employed, you have to pay for your own health insurance and like all the different things that come into making that a reality, like I think that pushes the bar further every time you get closer to it. But yeah, I would say
outrageous inflation didn't help that.
No. And so yeah, no expectations, rather just like hopes and dreams.
Yeah. Though I will say that because we had hosted a couple of podcasts previously and just conversations that I had had in the industry, like I kind of knew what the benchmark was for some of the other top hiking podcasts in terms of downloads. And we started passing that pretty quickly. And that was shocking to me. That's when the feedback was like, oh fuck, I think we are onto something here. Chaunce mentioned not having any sponsors for the first 6 months of the podcast, which is true, but very early on we had sponsors reaching out wanting to get involved.
Yeah,
and
I didn't know that.
I specifically turned it down because I wanted to just focus. I knew that if I fragmented myself into like thinking about monetizing it, and our download numbers were still, pretty small at that point, it would just be like a distraction away from the podcast. At that point, I wanted to focus on the podcast and the podcast only, and then worry about the money once we had some momentum. And I just felt we were too early into it to start trying to, open the cash register on it. And in hindsight, I think that was the right call, because we have made a lot of mistakes, both on air and like technically. I'm sure we can talk about this, but just the fucking chaotic way that we were editing the podcast early on was a nightmare. And just trying to work in like advertising on top of all the stuff that we didn't know, I think would have made it overwhelming. So
yeah, I would line up. We would record on 3 different laptops, and then I would open up, what was it, Audition, maybe? I think it was Audition, and I would line the clips up. But then something and not an audio person, but something in how the clips were, maybe the files or the recording, something about them where
two of the mics that were the exact same were somehow recording at slightly different frequencies.
Yeah, and then also you'd line them up where like everything, like we clap at the beginning, everything's lined up, the clap is all lined up on the little audio bars, and then 20 minutes in, there's like an echo because they're slightly off track. I don't know how it was recording differently like that, where it would be at the same at one place and differently at the other. So then I'd sit there and you just cut every time it started to get a little echo, and you'd realign them. Then you'd go and then you'd cut when there'd be a little echo. It took hours and hours. Thank God we found Paulie.
Yeah. And also, I will say, doing a podcast today is so much easier, like with AI just giving it to you step by step, but also the software, you can use stuff like Riverside. If you're doing it remotely, it will just make it completely mindless. But it's nice to be starting out when that stuff is hard to figure out, because that's a higher barrier to entry, especially for people that aren't technical in the audio sense. And obviously we were not that. So yeah, the process of like even editing together one single episode in the beginning, Chaunce was doing it at first, then I took over for a while. We were recording with different USB mics plugged into different laptops, which is just not the way that's supposed to be done, especially when you're in the same room with the person. So yeah, we were making every technical mistake early on, which just goes to show how, I think, dedicated we were to this project, because the lift behind every episode for us to be doing this by ourselves was fucking immense.
Yeah, the episodes that sound the shittiest are the ones that took the most amount of hours.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah.
that's always just funny.
Yeah, 100%. Did you discuss the style of the podcast you wanted to create or the style of the interviewers you wanted to be? I think you and I have different recollections of this because, well, I'll give my, and then you correct me. Style of the podcast. I knew early on that I wanted to be very interview heavy for the exact reason that, like, I didn't necessarily want to be the host of the podcast. Me talking for that much time does not sound like a good idea. So bringing on other interesting people where I can pick their brain, I think I can do that fairly well. So I knew that an interview was going to be the crux of the podcast. I think this is probably where we deviate a bit in what the original vision of the show was, but I wanted some fun component around the interview. Again, I wanted to recreate what I experienced on trail, like the conversations that you have on trail for the podcast. And that can't always be achieved with interviews, especially if the interview's on more serious matters. And that's where, like, the segments portion was born on Chaunce's
You
version.
didn't want segments. I came saying let's do segments too because I had listened to part of my take, and the first half of everything you said is absolutely accurate. You were like, the interview should be the bulk. That's more interesting. People aren't here to listen to us; they're here to listen to the guest. All of that made sense. But then because I was listening to part of my take, I was like, yeah, but they do these things and they're kind of funny. And then we slowly started adding segments. That's my memory of it. I don't leave room for error, but I remember you not wanting segments.
Yeah. I can't say with great accuracy what the conversations were 8 years ago. I'll defer to you on that if you feel very strongly about that. I will just say, going back to the AM radio days, again, talking about like 670 The Score, they did a segment, Who You Crappin', which is basically just like calling out someone who had said something dumb or done something dumb. I always loved those. I don't even know if they would call it a segment, probably. But yeah. I think maybe there was some of the stuff that I thought was gimmicky. I could definitely see that being the case. But as the more we've done this, the more I lean into the gimmicks. So I've definitely changed my mind on that. If that was my stance at one point, and I believe you that probably was.
Well, Triple Crown's one of the earliest rip-offs we did because we ripped off the Mount Rushmore from Part of My Take, because that was one of the ones where it was like, I can't get enough of this segment that they keep doing.
Yeah. Can we give ourselves a collective pat on the back that how many fucking episodes in a row have we come up with Triple Crown topics?
God. And like I think Rachel gets a pat there too. Honestly, the whole team, because everyone just sends them
not you
randomly.
And I mean the Backpacker Radio, even the universe. We've gotten some listener submissions on this.
Yeah, but that was one of the great things about the Part of My Take ones was it was like every time you think that they can't come up with another one, they're doing like the Triple Crown of Surreal, and like these four men are so into this argument about Fruity Pebbles that it's just so funny to listen to.
Well, they have since. They take off at least half the year from doing Mount Rushmore.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a shortened part of the year. I think they do it during the football off season now.
See, I only listen when I'm on trail. I don't listen to podcasts off trail because I don't drive anywhere apart from here.
I'm not a regular listener of Pardon My Take nowadays. But yeah, that was definitely a direct ripoff for sure.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pardon My Take. Was there anything else about the podcast that we decided? I think once we fell into a routine of like, it was most interviews tended to be more on the serious side where we're talking to somebody else and extracting their story.
Yeah.
And then segments were always like, let's let our hair down, unsnap our bras, and just shoot the shit for a little bit.
Yeah, segments were a good balancer because if we had a really long interview, then it was like, okay, well, we can do quick segments and get the show on the road. Or if we had a rather dry interview that was more like informative, or the guest didn't have as many poop stories, or just
not all interviews are winners, we can say that,
but then we would be like, all right, we got to turn it on the segments and really get fucking weird here because we've got to balance out what is a drier interview.
Got to give the people what they didn't pay for.
Exactly. I think the only other thing we would have stylistically that we really changed was moving question of the day to the end, because we started with question of the day at the top of the show. And then we swapped it to the end. That
was, for better or for worse, that was a me decision.
But I think that's because we added the things to remember at the top, because we didn't used to do things to remember. Reminders
is definitely, that's like a mini Trek propaganda
So once we added reminders,
Yeah.
it made sense to move question of the day, because that's a lot to make someone just sit in a chair and wait for.
And my fear was, like, if we had a prominent guest on and somebody's forget the guest, because fuck the guest, I don't care about the guest. No, I'm just kidding. The listener, if like you hear Andrew Skirka's on a podcast and it's you and I talking about like farts for 20 minutes before we get to the interview, that feels like an injustice. I feel like that should be buried. That was the rationale. But now I talk about subscribe to the Treks YouTube for 10 minutes. So I don't know. I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah, well, so am I.
How, I like this question. How has your podcasting co-interviewing strategy changed over time?
I don't know if it's changed as much as we just get better at reading each other's cues. Like when I take a breath in and then you pause and it's like, oh, I thought you were going to say something. Like the little subtleties of like the way I breathe, where it's like, oh, I can tell she wants to say something. Or sometimes like the way like you sit, like you'll do something with your shoulders and like you're getting ready to say something. And I think the more time we've been in these chairs, the more easy it is to just like not even read your facial expressions, because I'm not always looking right at you, or vice versa, but like even just like your posture or like the way you fidget in your chair and vice versa, where I think we have gotten smoother as interviewers because we don't need to both be like and then pause, even though sometimes we do. A lot of the times that verbal where you catch us and we're both like and then we stop and it's like you go, no you go, a lot of the times that still happens, it's just not out loud. A lot of the times it's like I'll shift and then Zach will shift and then like I'll see that and then I'll pull back, and then, you know, like there's like little things where like that conversation is happening without words that you can't really just like read without doing this enough times where your brain somehow starts to pick up on when these traits happen, this is gonna happen, kind of stuff. Yeah,
for sure. That is a very accurate representation. Doing this for, honestly, it's in terms of time spent interviewing people, it's measured in days, certainly maybe weeks at this point,
in minutes, in hours.
If someone says something and I have a question and then like you perk up, and I can almost sense like your question is so pressing that I'm just going to swallow in mine. Like sometimes you'll hear me typing in the background.
Or like if I'm about to ask a question and I see you perk up and I know mine's going to be off topic, I'll try to hold mine because I'm like, let him say the on topic one first.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, I try to always, unless mine, I sense that too. I sense that sometimes my question might be more directly related to the answer.
Yeah.
In which case, I try not to do it often, but I will bulldoze.
But that's when I think those moments happen. Yeah. It's like we've already done all the brain work of, okay, we both can tell we both want to ask a question. I've weighed where my question might fall compared to his question because we've gotten very good at figuring out and almost guessing what the next person's going to say.
Yeah.
Where it's like I can kind of like, sometimes you ask a question, I'm like, oh my God, I knew you were going to ask that, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think then we both notice each other's like physical cues, and then we do like a self-evaluation of like how important is my question versus theirs, and then the conversation ends without you ever noticing because one of us will sit back and let the other have it, or both of us reach a point where we're like, mine might be better fit here, and if like maybe if Zach says his question first, then mine will no longer be on topic, and then I'm at that point it would flow better for me to skip it than say it. Then you get to the point where we're both like you go ahead. And so that's all the listener hears. Yeah. But all that shit happens in the background unspoken in our brains. Yeah. Which is kind of freaking wild.
Yeah, we are both running a nonverbal calculus of whose question needs to go first. And there's times where it's the opposite, where like someone will answer and I'm just intentionally quiet because I'm waiting for you. Not like I don't think that you're asking enough questions. It's more like I'm asking too many questions.
Yeah,
so I'll just mute myself. And sometimes you do the same thing.
Yeah, like we'll check our balance where it's like, okay, I just got 3 questions in a row because I was quite eager. Now I sit back and let Zach take one. Yeah. Or even if it's not like I was too eager, like sometimes if you ask 3 in a row, I'm like, he's going to need a second to think of something else. Yeah. So like now I'll jump in so that he has that pause.
Yeah. And sometimes there are just certain guests where you resonate better with them or the subject is of greater interest to you, and I'm going to just sit out a little bit. And
vice versa, if it's nutrition, go for it.
If Freeborn's on, I'm going to probably take 80% of the questions. It definitely happens where sometimes, even though the interviewer present in the room is setting out a little bit.
Yeah. But I think the other thing too, okay, if we go another level, is we can also tell when our questions are a little forced. So if I can tell that like a question you're giving or you're asking is like a little forced or not like probably what your go-to question would be, then it's like, okay, like maybe this is a drier episode, for example, and your question's a little forced, and it's like, okay, I've got to try, like while this person's answering, I've got to try to think of either something they're saying that can lead to something more interesting, or I've got to have something on backup for if this is a short answer and then they need to be prompted again, because the way that Zach's asking his question, I can tell he's just had to think about it and he's a little tired and like he needs another second to like refocus on like where can we take this from here.
Sure.
So there's all those things happen in the background, which is nutty.
Yeah. No, the unspoken equation of what happens during an interview. I think that you and I have both gotten much better at that. Not only you and I,
connection.
Not only you and I toward the guest, but you and I together certainly has gotten more refined over time. When you've been out for whatever reason, and I've like before we get to the interview portion, I've tried to like coach people on co-hosting practices, and most of the time it's just like you're gonna have to bulldoze me at times, because to keep the tempo of the interview to where it needs to be, I'm not gonna allow much dead space to happen. And you're really good at that. Like you're really good at knowing not only when to squeeze in the question, but what question will keep the momentum of the answer going. Yeah,
and I think that's something that we've both gotten better at over time.
For sure.
I think day one in the seat, like you just can't do that in day one because we don't know each other in that cadence yet. So
a question that's not asked, but maybe somebody listening to this that wants to start their own podcast, hiking or otherwise, is if you don't have any interview experience, know that the first like 5 to 10 interviews that you do are going to be trash ass interviews. I started at not my worst doing this because my previous job, I was in a position where I was interviewing people, frankly, on a subject I didn't know much about, with people who were like heavy hitters in that world. And I was fucking terrible. I was so bad at it. I would have my list of 15 questions. I would ask them a question, wait for them to finish, and then just go to the next. Like I wasn't even present. They could have been interviewed by fucking like via email and gotten better interaction. So having gone through those lumps before coming into Backpacker Radio, I think allowed me to get some of that out of the way. I say that because I do get the question from time to time about like, what is your top piece of advice? Is like, this is really hard starting out, but just be as present as possible. Like it's hard to both give an interview and have a conversation, and the latter requires you being present and like actively listening. I think it just takes a lot of reps. And the reason I bring this up is like you've gotten much better at that. I think early on, I don't know if you had experience prior to this podcast, but frankly, I thought you had room for improvement, and today I think that you're excellent at it. You're really good at it.
I think we all still have room for improvement. But I agree. I think like if you are trying to start one of these, and you like, my 2 cents is just reframing the word interview to conversation. Like I'm not having an interview, I'm having a conversation. I'm not interviewing this person on these 15 bullet points. I'm having a conversation with this person about these 15 topics. And just for some reason, the word conversation gives you permission to, instead of just going down the list like line items that you're asking, like have a back and forth on each one. Because it's like if I'm interviewing, I'm just asking and hearing. But if I'm having a conversation, I'm also expected to converse on that, which is like a two-way thing. And lead with curiosity. Yep. You know, like it's, if you're going in and you're cold because you're nervous and you're reading what's on the thing and they answer that one question and you go on to the next question, there could have been 5 things in their answer that maybe would have been leading to better stories or more interesting things if you just like dug one level deeper. So the curiosity I think is huge. And then one more on the flip side of things, in terms of keeping momentum, is like don't take the feedback to heart in the beginning. Like definitely listen to constructive criticism and seek out constructive criticism from people you trust. But like things that are just outright mean, you know, people are more likely to leave a bad review than a good review. If I love a product I'm using, I'm probably not going to go find it online to leave a positive review about it. It's just like not as human nature as if I'm like hating something, like my internet went out and Xfinity's not being helpful, right? And like, you know, where I'm gonna go is everywhere to complain.
Yeah.
And so just knowing that that's how human nature is, like you have to absorb negative feedback in a way that like you have to remind yourself, hey, the negative feedback is always louder. People are more likely to go and type something when they're mad, and they're less likely to do it when they're happy, but that doesn't mean that there's not happy people out there who like what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard part about this. But once you get to the point where you start getting negative feedback, that means you've reached some sort of threshold of fan, listener, consumption, whatever you want to call it. Because it's rare that the first person that listens to it is like, fuck you, kill yourself. Yeah. Like, you have to get some momentum to get to that point. But, like, my God, in the first 6 months, how many times did I hear that I was annoying? I get it. You know, like, I've got to live in this head with myself. I can't leave. You can. You can turn this off. I'm still in here. Yeah. Right? But I think the other thing, too, is, like, having a co-host. It's so much better getting shit complaints and feedbacks about like how much you suck when you have someone else to laugh about it with. Sure. You know, like we just screenshot that shit and it's like LOL, okay, versus if it was just me and I read it and then I like go to bed. That's not as fun. Also, early on, we got a lot of feedback that the podcast was too vulgar. We've probably softened that a little bit, not out of any trying to accommodate those people, more so I think just us getting older, although we still talk about shit. I'm sure I've said fuck at least 12 times. But this is another piece of advice is don't try to cater to everyone. Is like, if I'm going to create a podcast, it has to work in a way that I would speak naturally. And if I'm constantly censoring myself, that's just not going to work long term. Yeah, you can only fake your personality for so long. So if your personality is a component of the show, it's just got to be what comes naturally to you, fortunately or unfortunately. Yeah. Be your authentic self. That's the best shot that you've got. If you try to correct your direction based on every negative piece of feedback that you get, you're going to end up with some watered down garbage. So what's not watered down is this hams. Oh, it's making me have to pee again. You want to take a break or you want to go to the next question? Where's the next one? You could start. I'm going to pee real fast. You could start the next one if it's there's just you and I. We'll just wait. Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. You guys wait for me. We're back. Chaunce pooped. That would have been way too fast. Yeah, I know. What's the fastest poop you've ever taken? Oh, like if it's ready. From sit to hands are washed. If it's ready to come, like usually the big part is just like it's not ready, which is like a public thing. Like when we went to that place the other day, sure, and it's just not ready. Yep. If I'm ready, and I sit down, it's under a minute. Wow, under a minute. I don't need. Well, that's why I don't understand when Garrett spends ages in there. You know, because it's like it doesn't. If you were actually going, it doesn't take long. If you go in with a mission and you have to go and you just go, it comes out all in that initial go and then it stops. And then you say, okay, great. And you could sit there for 30 minutes to see if like one little bit will come out after, or you could just like get up and go back to your day. And that is fine. I'm on Garrett's team with this one for a couple of reasons. One is oftentimes, I'll say at least for me, is you're right that the mass is coming out right away. But if you sit and wait for another minute or two, there's the aftershock. And there's nothing worse than being done taking a dump, going to do whatever the thing you're doing, being like, I have more dump to dump, and I couldn't even just sit on the toilet and get it all out. Hot take. I think this is a lie that boys are all on the same page with and that they all agree with each other and that they're just all lying to get more alone time in the bathroom. You know why I think that? Because I was a little bit psychotic the other week and I was standing in the bathroom. I opened the door because I had to ask him something. He didn't come out for ages. He's just sitting there with his pants down. And I'm like trying to talk to him and he's like trying to get me to leave. He's like, I'm literally pooping. Can you please leave? I said, stand up. Prove it. There was nothing in the fucking toilet. The toilet was empty. I was like, I knew it. You're a liar. He was waiting. No. And so every time he says he's pooping, I say, prove it. And then he gets a little nervous because I don't actually make him, but
I did once, and nothing was in there, and that's how I know you're all lying, and you're just doing this to have more scroll time and watch your hockey stats and go on Twitter, and nothing's actually fucking happening in that room until the minute before it's time to get out. Once it's like, okay, where are you? We have to go in 5. It's like, oh, I'm coming. Then you do it. Then you leave. That's when you do it. You're all liars.
You've said a lot of crazy things. That's definitely in the Triple Crown.
This is, if we're doing Triple Crown of conspiracy theories, this is one that this is a hill I'll die on.
If Jenna ever made me show my shits to prove that I was taking care of business in there, I would file a divorce immediately.
I didn't think you would actually do it. I thought it was just like, you know, like...
You're making a goof.
Yeah, but he stood up. So I was like, fine, I'll look. And then I looked and I was like, why would you stand up?
Yeah, you should have lied.
Yeah, if you're going to commit. If you're going to lie, just lie.
Yeah.
So yeah, he shouldn't have stood up, but he did. And then a curiosity got the cat at that point. I was like, really? You're going to listen? Okay, I'll check. Nothing's in there. That's fucking hilarious. So boys are liars.
I bet that the other part, as a person with kids, where it's nice to have some quiet spaces, that part's true.
We don't have kids.
I understand that.
You're hiding from me.
But
there's no one else to hide from.
I'm just saying, to be able to sit in a bathroom and scroll your phone with some like uninterrupted space. It doesn't matter the circumstance. That's just a good thing. It doesn't matter if you're by yourself in the middle of the woods in a privy, or you're surrounded by 3 kids trying to burn your house down.
Right when something needs to happen. It's like you're sitting on the couch for however long, and then something needs to happen, and then it's like, oh, I'm just gonna go poop first. And it's like, couldn't you have just gone and sat there for 30 minutes when we didn't have other things to do?
Like, what are the things?
I don't know. I can't remember any specifics at the moment because I'm not psychotic enough to actually like keep a mental score. But all I'm saying is we don't have kids. I would understand it then because I'd be hiding too, and we would be fighting over who could hide. But and the day to day, I don't know. I can't imagine a human poops as much or takes as long.
Yeah. I will say I do think my poops are shorter now with kids because I hope Jenna feels the same way, but there's always a sense of guilt when she's solo parenting and I'm gone. Like there's been points where it's like, can I go to the bathroom right now? Like I'm asking for permission to go do a thing. I don't want to paint my wife to be a witch. My wife is the sweetest person alive, but it's just, it's a lot.
Well, I saw a video that was like a woman giving a PowerPoint to her husband the other day, and it was things that you shouldn't say when you get home from golfing all day on Saturday. And it was like, I'm tired, I need to go lay down, this and that. It was like things you should say. And it's like, wow, thank you so much for, and then it's like an entire paragraph of all the shit the wife did with the kids while he was gone. And then it's like things that would be better to say. And it's like, would you like to take an equal amount of time to do something by yourself next Saturday?
No, I think this is an ongoing debate for most young couples with kids, because that's a thing. That's like who gets the more free time. They've
done studies. I think men get an average of 4 hours more a week was the study I saw. Oh, they're not studying my house. I've never been surveyed on that one, but yeah. Okay, well,
No, but moral of the story is impromptu relationship advice. Always say yes when your spouse wants to go do the thing. Not only because your spouse's mental health is very important, but that also, provided you don't have a terrible spouse, that buys you time to go do the thing that you want to do.
The thing is, though, I don't say no.
Yeah.
You know, like, not only do I say yes.
You don't have kids. You should be saying yes to everything.
Agree. But you also shouldn't be hiding in a toilet, right? So not only do I say yes, but it's like, hey, I know we had plans tonight, but I want to go to the Avs game with my friend because whatever. And it's like, sure, fine, absolutely, you can go. Can you drive me? Yes. And I can pick you up. That's how, great. Yeah. We don't have anywhere else we should be. If I'm not drinking tonight, I will absolutely DD you guys there and back. Even if I thought that we were going to sit on the couch and watch a movie,
maybe
this is an opportunity.
Does he have like constipation issues?
No. I'm just saying,
I don't want to
just to circle it back, we don't need to talk about Gary's butt too much, but just to circle it back, I think I poop incredibly fast because I don't bring my phone in there. I'm going in there with a purpose, and then I leave.
Yeah. Good. We answered the question that wasn't asked. I mean, I asked it, but Rachel.
No, it's I can't even turn my phone on. If I sit down on the toilet and I go to even like open an app, I'm done before I even open it. I just bring my phone in for no reason.
Yeah. No,
then you need your hand.
Not to distract us, but I love the just toilet, unadulterated time of just like mindlessly scrolling.
Apparently your butthole can prolapse if you do that for too long.
I'm sure my butthole's a complete wreck. But I'm on the wrong side of 40 now, so I'm closer to death than the beginning.
Yeah. I remember when I learned that 40 was apparently middle-aged. That was a shock. I thought 50 because I thought halfway to 100. And then I remember my nanny just like laughed.
What do you think the median... Are they yeah, the average. What's the average death age in the U.S.?
Depends on if it's men or women. Women live about 5 years longer.
No, it's not that much of a difference,
Yes,
is it?
It is. Oh yeah. That's why I married young, or younger. I didn't marry young. I'm 34, but Garrett's younger. He's 2 years younger. Gotta bridge that gap somehow. I'm not going first.
Wow, it is 5 years. Holy shit, that's
Look at
crazy.
that. I am an encyclopedia of knowledge.
That's because people's wives be busting into the bathroom and making them reveal their shit. It's like, no, I'd just rather go check out the afterlife.
You're just sitting in the bathroom, letting your butthole fall out.
All right. Discuss how guests are chosen. This is less interesting.
Yeah.
It's predominantly me, but anytime I'm on the fence, I definitely will take it's not a poll. I asked Chaunce.
We can do a little more in depth here. For the process of how do we find them? Guest recommendations are usually the best.
Mm-hmm.
Guests who request the best guests.
Especially if they're good guests.
Yes, good guests who recommend the best guests.
So like Jabba pretty much has had a golden ticket. Katie Jackson's gotten a few on the show.
Dirtmonger, I think, has suggested one or two good ones.
Dirtmonger can say anything, and the answer is yes. Skirka.
Yeah.
There's like it.
I think if Cuckoo were to suggest something, we'd be like, yeah. Travis could tell us to do something, we'd be like, yeah.
Yeah. If you're a limb in our trust tree,
yeah,
you can say anything, and we're just gonna believe you.
Right. So that's like that's like Chutes and Ladders. Like well, I guess the opposite of it. It would be like taking it would be taking like the chute if the chute was a good thing in Chutes and Ladders. It's actually a bad thing in Chutes and Ladders. But anyway, it's taking the fast track. If you are in that trusted circle, especially if you've recommended one and then it's a banger, then you can really say whoever, and we're kind of just not really gonna we'll vet a bit more. Rachel will, but you and I probably won't as heavily. A little bit, but not as heavily.
I've gotten more involved in the last. There was a period of time, I think, when we were early on, when I was just like happy to have a suggestion. But every guest that comes up on Asana.
No, I'm talking about like Travis DMs you directly and says, "Hey, my buddy's in town. You would love recording with him." For
better or for worse, even when like somebody that I know and like and respect recommends someone, I still funnel it through Rachel just to keep the process as smooth as possible.
It used to be more fun.
No, I mean, I'm particular about it. I really am. But
to start,
Chaunce is right.
Essentially, one of the funnels
word of mouth is the best way.
The trusted circle, that's one of the funnels. The other funnel is just suggested guest form. That's something that Rachel keeps track of, and that's the next best way, because if Rachel doesn't have it in her organization, it doesn't exist.
True.
Like, people will come up to us and be like, "Oh, you should have this person on," and it's like, that's such a thought. Like, that's such a good idea. You should submit a guest form, not because I'm trying to give you extra work, but because if you're saying this verbally to me and not in writing to Rachel, it's not gonna be remembered.
Yeah.
So that's another way.
She's our catch-all.
And usually people suggesting other people is best. And then I would say lower on the tier is people suggesting themselves. I think that.
But we've had some great. I think Fancy Feast has been a self-recommendation.
Well, she found your socks.
That's right.
We've had some good ones, but I
Austin
think
McDaniel, I think, was a self-recommendation,
and
he was a very good guest.
The thing that's hard with the self-recommendation, though, is that like it's harder to be cognizant of who you are as a conversationalist, or like how entertaining your own stories are.
Sure.
If you're pitching yourself versus if someone pitches you, you've had a good conversation with them that left that kind of impression.
Yeah. A lot of times when people pitch someone, it's like somebody that they follow on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, and that can be a bit tenuous. Again, if it's somebody that has like a personal connection with someone, I agree. That's like the most golden ticket of them all. But sometimes I feel like some of our best guests come from the self-recommendations because they have that bravado, and like, provided you're not fabricating anything that you're saying, you're giving your actual resume. That confidence translates well to being a good guest in a podcast.
Yeah. I would say also how our guests chosen. We've done so many episodes, especially in the earlier years, that are just like, I hiked the AT. What are the best shelters you stayed at? What are the best foods you had in town? You know, like all the questions that like we've asked a million times. So we got to a point where it was like, to just have done a long trail no longer feels like enough of a qualifying answer, because while yes, it's incredible you did the AT, or yes, it's incredible that you even triple crowned, are those going to be unique enough stories from ones that we've already had on, or are we going to be describing what route you did on the CDT, and it's the same flow of the conversation we've had a couple times already? So then we got to a point where we started trying to find like a one level deeper, where it's like, yes, you're a long distance hiker, yes, you've done this or these trails. What's one level deeper on what would make this a good conversation? Is it someone like we just had on where you're a military vet and you negotiated with Al-Qaeda? Is it like the person we had on where you are on a boat and you're crossing the middle of the ocean and you're going through these like sailor rituals? Is it, you know, like what is the added? Or when we had God, I can't remember the name of the book off the top of my head right now, but when she was in the JMT and she thought she was going to die, it was like When You Find My Body. It's on the shelf. But she had gotten into that ski accident. And, you know, they basically in all these stories, there's a component further of, yes, I did this trail, but then also this other thing will give it a little bit of an edge compared to someone else who's done this trail too. Yeah. And so that distinguishing, like, this is what separates me from the other stories that sound like this, is probably the hugest part, at least that I look for now, where it's like, okay, this resume is great, we've talked about all this stuff before, that we start to picture how would this conversation go in the chair, and then it's like, well, what's the part that's going to be like unique, you know?
Yeah. Chaunce and I are striving for interviews that are engaging for us, because we feel like that translates well to the listener. And it's just really tough to have the same Triple Crown trail hiking experience over and again, and like authentically have an engaging experience with that. So like, yeah, we're always looking for what's the interesting thing, whether it be within your hiking experience or outside of your hiking experience, is like something that we haven't heard before.
Yeah.
We're catering the show, I mean, honestly, selfishly to ourselves, but I think that translates well for somebody who's been listening for all 8 years. Is like, we're not trying to recreate any, we're not trying to recover any ground that we've been over. Like, we want this to be novel and fun every single episode, and that's just hard to achieve if, like, you want, like, oh, what was the coolest shelter that you stayed on the ATs? Like, we can only do that for so long before it starts to feel repetitive.
Yeah, and, like, it sounds so counterintuitive to be like, it has to be interesting for us, because it's like, we're not the point, you know? And it's like, I'm not, like, this goes out to how many listeners, where it's like, I'm not more important than any of you listening in terms of like who's going to have a better time listening. But at the same time, I think it's absolutely right what you're saying, where it's like, if we're bored in the interview,
that comes through. It's
going to be like, we're not going to be razzle dazzling, and then that's going to come through the listener, and then they're going to feed off of our bored energy. Sure. So it's not that we're so important that we need to be entertained. It's more that, like, we need to be very cognizant. It's like getting enough calories. Like, if I don't get enough calories, if I don't get enough entertainment out of this, I'm not going to perform. Yeah. And then you're not going to enjoy it because it's not going to be fun.
There's times where, I mean, aside from the headsets and whatnot, like, I want this to feel like we are having a conversation and not making a podcast. And a good conversation is just something organic and unique and novel. And if you've had... This is why I don't like small talk. Mm-hmm. Like, you've retreaded the same conversations 1,000 times. Like, it's hard for me to stay engaged with that. I think that translates to having a good conversation interview in a podcast. That being said, some of our best guests don't necessarily have the most engaging, or like the most novel stories, I should say. It's just their vibes are good.
Yeah, I would say that's a caveat, and that's something that's really hard, because you can't really gauge this from a form. Yeah. But sometimes it's hard, because it's like, okay, why would I get told no for an interview when this is what I'm bringing to the table, and you've had someone on that has done, like, how come they were a yes and we were a no? And it's simply a matter of, well, because the chicken came before the egg in this situation, and they claimed that spot for that niche top or whatever it was, right? Yep. But then at the same time, oh my God, where did it just go, the thought?
Vibes,
yes. it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh my God, I've got this super angle to what I do. Sometimes someone is just so fucking entertaining to listen to talking, or just like, and this is where I think friends recommending friends, or like the guest suggestion suggesting another person, like, is strength. Because when you have this personality where it's like, maybe my stories aren't like the most novel, but like if you sit in a room with this person, you won't leave for 3 hours.
Sure.
Like that kind of vibe where it's like, all right, like why? You know, like I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
And those end up being really great too.
So I experienced the strongest trail days FOMO when it was Travis sent me a photo of him, moron, and horsepower.
Is it us?
Did I say me?
Yeah.
Us, sorry. Like, and I can feel like I'm in the room with that group and just like shooting this shit. Like, that's what makes a good podcast. Like, that's the thing that we've been chasing this entire time, is like, forget that the mics are here. It doesn't have to be question and answer. It's just like a good, funny conversation where we can riff on a variety of shit. Like, that's where the magic exists.
Yeah, I agree completely.
What are some surprising things you've learned about what goes into making the podcast?
The amount of people it takes.
Yeah.
When we started, it was just me and Zach. I remember we were like, especially in the beginning, nervous to bring on an intern because, again, we weren't getting paid yet. So we didn't have a budget to pay an intern, and like an unpaid intern will only put forward so much effort because they're not, you know, like everything makes sense in this equation.
Was Elise working before we paid her?
No, this was, there were 2 people. You want me to say them out loud?
Mara?
No. Mara came after Elise. We had 2 people before Elise.
I'm blanking.
Actually, I think we had 3.
Who?
Apple. Remember Apple? And there was a girl whose name started with a D. We had 3 people that were unpaid, and it kind of fizzled out with each of them. And then
you're not confusing this with hiking from home.
I promise you I'm not. I promise you
Okay.
I'm not. This is before Elise. Elise was the first one we paid, I believe. Because we had a conversation about how like we just like it was more work to train and oversee and, you know, surround this person's tasks than what we were getting back from it, and the lack of engagement, it was due to a lack of monetary compensation. And then we switched completely, and we said, okay, let's try this again, but let's try paying someone. And I think that was when we got Elise, and it was just magic.
Yeah.
And then Elise had to go do something, and we got Mara, and then Elise came back, and then we got Rachel.
Yeah.
And then Elise left, and then we got Sarah, and then Elise came back. But everything
like
Elise on was paid. But
Yeah.
we had I remember, because I remember exactly where I was sitting at in a brewery when I was working with one of them, and I was like, I can't even like ask you to do something by a deadline because I feel bad, because like there's no reason to, you know. And that was, I remember that being hard for us in the first 6 months, because we weren't doing it because we're assholes. We were just like, we're both volunteering for this too, in the hopes of what it could be, and we're just trying to get like another leg forward, and it didn't work the way we thought it would. And then Elise came along.
Yeah.
So I would say that was something that was something not surprising. Like paying someone isn't surprising. I think what's more surprising is we even had a lot of back and forth about if we needed a person. Like, is that worth the task of paying someone for? Can't we just like one of us can take it, and like dividing the tasks amongst ourselves? And then we got Pauly, which was because like that just really needed to happen.
Yep.
And then it was like, well, we're already paying Pauly. What is this extra person going to do that we can't do?
Yep.
Because we didn't even start with all the social medias. We started with just like 1 or 2. Like we didn't even have them at first, and then we added them in slowly.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, who's going to make the content? Who's going to schedule all this stuff that was coming one at a time?
Elise was originally in the Rachel role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we broke her off when we found that we had enough. So I think what we learned over time was like, A, you can't do it all yourself. And B, when you think that you are at a place where it's like, okay, like I'll just get one person and they'll help with this part, like there's so much more to grow, because now we've got like 6 people. Mm-hmm. We've got Elise who does the socials, we have Rachel who does the guest outreach,
Pauly.
Chris does the video, Pauly does the editing, who's the graphic guy that does who did the t-shirt, another Chris, he steps in and he does graphics for our flyers and our promotional events. We have you and me, that's 7 right there.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
Yeah, I mean, if we're including
and then we had
entire
Leah. Sorry, I
Trek
left Leah
sphere.
out. Leah was before Sarah.
Yeah.
Can't leave out Leah. Sorry, Leah. But all that to say, like, to go from a position where it was us two and we're like, don't worry, we can handle it all, and like we're really just outsourcing to Polly because we like that part we can't handle, to it being like 7, 8 of us at a time when you count everyone.
Yeah.
I think that was like, if you told us that day one, we would have probably gotten intimidated by that.
Sure.
But I think as things grow, you'll grow more scaling out the help as well, and like money invested in people like Rachel and Elise is never money misspent, I think, is what I've learned.
For our situation, that is 100% accurate. I'm reluctant to give that advice just because I know the failure rate of podcasts.
Right. But we waited until we weren't failing. That's what I'm saying. We didn't do it in the beginning.
Yeah. Just I don't want to mislead someone, because probably somebody listening to this who wants to start a podcast is not going to make money on their podcast.
Let me clarify one thing before we think this is my full opinion. I don't think a majority of people out there that would listen to this and start their podcast would need to go hire 8 people. I don't think we wouldn't do that. What I'm saying is that, like, and we didn't do that. We went 6 months where it was just us, and we didn't pay. We didn't,
I mean, that's the point that I'm trying to emphasize.
What I'm saying is go slow, but for us, it was one thing that surprised us along the way into making this podcast. One thing that surprised me about this one specifically is how much we've scaled the team throughout it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I would reframe it just to say how much work it is to make the podcast
Yeah, that's
work.
an easier way to say it.
Because the team is reliant on money, because I don't, especially now, it was different when I first started, because I was an unpaid intern in many previous realms and I actually benefited greatly from that. But nowadays I feel differently about it, that you pay people that work for you. But I also think it's good to bootstrap things, and it's good to have something be financially viable before you're like scaling a team.
Yeah.
If we were going to do this over again, I would 100% it just be you and I brunting the fucking work until we can prove this out.
I think if we were to do it again, we might have paid Elise maybe 2 months sooner. Maybe.
Was she unpaid? Or you mean just hire her sooner?
Yeah, like hired her and paid her 2 months sooner. You know?
I agree.
I wouldn't start with a team. I wouldn't.
I full sign off on the part of delegating work. And honestly, like that's one area where I still fail to this day, is not delegating enough. But yeah, there's just so much between fucking guest research, guest outreach, coordinating schedules,
advertiser outreach. Remember when we were sending like 7 emails a week to potential advertisers?
I without even touching the advertiser side of it, because honestly that's probably half of the lift in terms of like invoicing and working through the copy and then working through specific schedule. Like,
I'm not even talking about your roles. I'm talking about Sarah had that, remember?
No,
where
I know,
we were doing like the outreach.
I now do that part. Yeah.
I can't decide if I'm hot or cold.
Pull out the money making aspect of it. Just to make the podcast portion come to life is a metric fuck ton of work. So that moral of the story is, if you want to create a podcast, you have to really love what you're doing, and
be organized, I think.
Definitely 100%.
Because like if you have a guest who's willing to come on and you don't follow up with them like soon enough to the episode, and then they're wondering, am I still going? Where's the link? Is it on a calendar anywhere? And then like you need their headshots for your promotional materials and you don't remember to ask, and then you have to go back after the episode's up or any of that stuff, and then they have to ask you, hey, where's the episode? Do you have the link? When's it going out? Like all this stuff is stuff that we don't ever need to think about, because Rachel has a cadence that she follows and an email flow with templates that she follows that she's created.
Yep.
Where it's like, if we have interest in a guest, here's email 1 probing for interest, here's follow-up email 2, here's prep going into the interview, here are things to know and questions to answer to help me prep the show notes, here's what to expect, let me get your phone number in case we need to call you or you're late for any reason. Now we're going to the episode. Now here's an email saying, hey, this is the date that your episode's expected to go out. We will email you and let you know the links when it does. Can I get some headshots? Here's a follow-up. Your episode's going out on Monday. Here's your link. The entire flow of just that one conversation path that Rachel controls is so much organization that makes this a legitimate podcast, so that when a guest like Skirka or like John Mackey, like freaking Whole Foods CEO, like anyone who's going to be expecting something that's a little polished, like they come here expecting that because
And then they
Rachel
get
has
us.
set this impression leading up to it.
They mislead them into thinking.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it, baby. But
Yeah.
you know, all of that goes on, and it's huge.
Yeah. No. If you can design an all-star team for podcast creation, you need at least one person on the team who is dangerously organized, and we have precisely
Neither of those at the table.
Yeah, 0 here.
You have your own business.
Yeah, but the success is not due to organization. I could be less organized, certainly, but I'm not Rachel's level.
No,
of
you are.
organized. Yeah, no. How many interviews or segments have had to be cut?
I think we cut one interview.
2.
Well, we didn't air one interview. We took down a second.
True. Yes, that is to my memory.
I don't
accurate.
remember which one we didn't air. I remember.
I'll say it off air.
Yeah.
Elite will put it in the Patreon.
Yeah, you don't need to tell me.
It's not even meant as a dig. I'll give the story behind it. You guys know the more recent one if you're regular listeners of the show. The other one that I'm referencing was early on.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking of a third one. I was thinking of one that we took down and were inquired about recently as to why we took it down.
That's the one. That's one of the 2 that I'm referencing. Oh, yeah.
There was one that we never even put up, and then there were those 2.
Right. What was the first one? Text me the first one that you said.
I don't remember. The first one was one we interviewed. We did the whole interview, and we just decided to wash it and never air it.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was with.
I know who it is. For some reason, I don't think you were there. Were you there?
I don't know.
This was back in the Wayfinder days.
I can't remember.
I think that you weren't at that one, but my memory could be wrong. So the most recent one is the obvious one. Yes, there's another one that we've taken down. We don't have to get into that.
No.
That's not important. But there was one that was recorded that never made.
That's what I'm saying. There was only one that we recorded that we never even threw.
I'll text it to you right now.
Okay.
This is someone who I like very much, who always makes me laugh at
the
meetups. Someone I knew from the trail community in other ways. Like, it just has a really funny, cool personality. And then this was a rare instance where we just put them in front of a podcast mic and they just got so nervous. And like the conversation, I pulled it for the purpose of the podcast, but also I didn't think that it was going to be like a good reflection for
It's
them.
not a good representation of the person's personality.
Yeah.
They're so much more than what would have been
It was just a little bit of stage fright. But
Yeah.
this person has amazing vibes and was a good selection for a podcast. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I'm still friendly with that person. There's no ill will in either direction, obviously. But yeah, that happened one time.
Yep.
Literally in 300 how many interviews? It's actually incredible that that's only happened one time.
I think that also, like, the segments do help because, like, we've taken ones that, and not because they're bad, but sometimes, like, and I'm not saying this as this is the example, I'm just saying this as an example, but sometimes when we do something that's more info heavy, like when we're talking about lightning awareness,
Sure.
Just an example, that's not one that I would say wasn't good because that one was great, but things like that are more info heavy and not as personal story heavy, and so those ones can come across a little more dry. And once we've refined our segments, now we have segments in a place where we can just really freak out on those, and that, like,
Offer some balance to the episode.
if anything, we leave the segments being like, thank God the interview's a little drier because that was fucking weird.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we try to give it all here on the podcast. Is sometimes we're talking about our owls, aliens, and sometimes we're talking about like really serious.
I love those episodes.
Really serious subjects.
Those are my most recommended to other people episodes.
Yeah.
I've tried to get so many people to listen to the Mike Cleland episodes.
Yeah.
I try so hard. I have downloaded it on people's phones. I talk about it at the bar. I like really, really encourage people to listen to that one. Just both of them. They're just so freaking good.
Yeah.
I don't do that with other ones.
Yeah.
I'm not like oh my God, you should listen to my project, you know? But that one, I'm like, dude, you ever see an owl? Listen to this.
There's certain guests that we have on where I'm like, you have to hear this person's story.
Yeah.
Justin True.
Yeah.
That's one where I'm like,
oh, that was great.
This is not even related to backpacking, and like I'm really impressed by you as a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have a question about that later, actually, and Justin wasn't even on my list, so we unearthed a good one. And I don't think we've ever cut a single segment.
No, we haven't cut segments. We've cut like words and phrases.
But rarely. Like one out of every 75 episodes.
Yeah, sometimes someone like says something that we're like,
protecting them from themselves.
We don't think they meant that way, and that probably slipped out, and we'll just put a little note here to cut that because that isn't.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Because I have my own answer. I'm not doing it to do that, but
Great.
I have a feeling that you're probably simpatico with your feeling on this. How long did it take you to get over an episode where you felt like you said something dumb, where you can just fucking let it go?
I still do it. I won't watch the social clips for this week's episode. That is out right now because I think I look drunk in it, because I was. And so when I got home from that one, like there was about 48 hours of just shame that I like couldn't get out of my head about. And this is like 2 weeks ago, like.
I was like 6 days ago.
Yeah, no, not the Jabba one. That one was also. I'm talking about the Steve one that's out right now.
Oh.
When you're like, would you hike the American Discovery Trail if I died? And I was like, would you hike it if I died? I've got an idea. What about you hike it? I just like stopped watching because I was like, you're an idiot.
Oh, I'll give you the synopsis as people are on your side for that one, which is always how it goes.
Great. I haven't watched, but I think that's a personality trait of mine is I'm gonna feel post shame about anything I can, especially when it's like somewhat fuzzy, because then I fill in the gaps with the worst. I've just had, and I'm using this as an example because it's the most recent one, but I've just had to, what I basically repeat and tell myself is like, yeah, objectively, like not a great look in most contexts, but at the same time, I'm coping and processing in real time, like the idea of, I said this on Jabba's episode, my entire identity shifting, something that it's been a defining part of my adult life for all of what seems like my adult life. And that's very tough and challenging to do. And I could do that on my own time, and I could come here and I could put on a great face and we can have a great episode and that could be fun. But I feel like the listener has been here for so much that if I am struggling with it or having a harder time with it and I can laugh about it in the moment in some sort of way, like they deserve, or they're worth, not they deserve, you don't deserve anything from me, but you might be worth getting that inside peek into it not being the easiest thing. The downside to that is
you're saying
I'm going to show the messy parts.
Without the listener, this podcast is nothing, right?
Right.
Like,
and so
we're grateful to them being a part of this.
And they've been with me for so long that they deserve to see the emotion I go through as I'm leaving and not just see me be like, well, it's been fun, guys. Bye. And so I go back and forth in my head about that because I'm like, on one hand, this video is really cringy to watch. And like, oh my God, if this 2 minutes is like this the entire episode, my God, what do people think? I'm so embarrassing and ashamed and shameful and stupid and dumb and I'm never drinking again and you're such an idiot. All the thoughts in my head. And then I have to eventually balance out and be like, okay, but on the flip side, if you didn't just be yourself and like deal with this in front of the mic and in person, A, that's not authentic, and B, I just feel like they deserve a closed circle where it's like you've gotten unfiltered me for all this time. What, I'm gonna put on a front now to try to look good? I'd rather just feel ashamed for 3 days.
I would need you to know that I did not ask that question probing about how you felt about recent episodes. That it's 0%.
Oh no, that's fine. It just happens to be relevant.
Sure. But I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and I'm curious to get your perspective on it. Is early on when I would say something stupid on this podcast. Not only stupid is one thing, but like stupid and something that you regret. Because like, keep in mind the listener that once a week for 3 hours we're just up here trying to create a thing, and in that span of time, even if you're confident in 99% of what you're saying, even if you misfire 1% of the time, you're gonna put your fucking foot in your mouth. When I would put my foot in my mouth, that would literally keep me awake at night for the first few years of this podcast. I've since gotten way better about it. It still definitely is a little bit of a thorn in my side, but that's the one area where I feel like more so than even the criticism that comes from the thing that I've said, it's more so how I feel about the thing that I've portrayed for people. That bothers me a lot more. And I've gotten better at just like accepting and like, you know what? I think people know that my intention is good and that I'm fucking dumb and that they're going to give me a little bit of grace.
Yeah. I agree. It happened more in the beginning. I can't say that there was ever a switch because it still happens. It's better. I agree that it's better. I don't know how, but it is. But like there's, another example, because this happens all the fucking time. When we had the vicar. I
was not there for that
Lindsay?
one, but yeah, Monson.
Yeah. And I was explaining to her, I was telling her how, like, we were talking about, like, people who aren't traditionally, like, the people that you would see in church. And I was telling her how my church growing up was, like, very inclusive. And I didn't realize that people were just, like, mean to certain people because of who they loved or what they whatever. It just, like, didn't occur to me in a church setting growing up because that just wasn't the one I went to.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, mine was a light community. It was on the banners. It said light, a light community. She's like, what does that mean? And I was like, it means lesbian, interracial, gay, homosexual, transsexual. And that's what light stood for. And she was like, I've never heard of that. I'm like, yeah, it was really cool. And like it said it on the banner. Right. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I digress. So when I drive home from the podcast, I call my best friend from home and we chat. And she went to my church. We lived across the street. And so I told her that story. And I was like, oh my God, I get to tell this story about our church and how cool it was that we were in a like community and all this stuff. And like how I used to just see like, you know, it's lesbian couples all over when I was young. And it just never occurred to me that that was a problem until people said it was. And she was like, what are you talking about with that? With the definition of the letters? She was like, it was just a light community. The letters didn't stand for anything. I was like, no, they did. It was on a banner. I remember seeing it when I was young. We called my mom on the way home from this podcast. We three-wayed her into the call, woke the woman up, and we were like, what did the word light stand for? She's like, it didn't stand for anything. What are you talking about? I don't know where in my life I saw this in writing somewhere at that church, but I
believe you.
I believe me too.
Yeah.
I believe me too. I'm not the problem here, but the problem is that was wrong. And I looked it up online and I couldn't find a trace of it anywhere. And I've just said this to a podcast with 10 million downloads.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone's going to question you on
that. And I never brought it up again because I was like, you don't need to call out when you're wrong about things. People will just not look into it and forget. But this still eats away at me because I know I was wrong. And it's like...
That's a really charitable... I wish my memory was so charitable that it like would rewrite history to...
I think it was on a banner somewhere. I swear to God it was on a banner somewhere.
I believe you. I'm going to be on your side.
And all you need to do is be the one person in admin who like makes a mistake once and you're like, people won't remember. And then there's me 30 years later who like ingrained this into my brain. Right? Like maybe someone put it on a banner.
That's a good mistake.
I don't know. But to circle back, yes, there are times where like even if I say something that's not embarrassing, where like you could listen to that whole conversation, you could just think like that's a great combo.
Yeah.
Or I'm still up all night kicking myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Dumb.
No, that used to be a much bigger paranoia of mine. And like I try to relay that to a guest either pre or post show where they'll be like, I didn't feel so good about that one thing. I'm like, I assure you I've said 10 dumber things in the same episode. Like people are pretty forgiving about this stuff.
Maybe Wisconsin was my turning point because that was like a stay up for like a week or two just in shame.
That was a shameful trip for
But you know what? Then I think actually I'll pin that as the turning point because what happened from there is you created the soundboard. And I hate you for it.
Yeah.
But it turned into something where it was like, not only do you say something dumb, but we're also going to immortalize it. So you better just accept it fast.
And it is so funny.
So every time we play that, it's just like a memory of like my worst day of life. And at some point that has to happen where you say, you know what, if I got past this, I'll get past whatever else I do that's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Let's go on.
This is where, if I was prepared.
you better be. The Triple Crown is yours.
I know.
I don't know how I'm supposed to help out with that.
I have to re-download the app, I think.
Alas.
I'll figure it out before we get to segments. Don't worry about it. Okay. For each of you, how has the other person changed since episode 1? I think we've covered this a little bit.
Yeah.
You've become a much better interviewer. We've both become much better interviewers.
I agree.
I think you've improved more than I have.
I think you've become more flexible.
In what way?
All. Like we talked about the intern thing, we talked about the segment thing, all the I think.
Was I opposed to an intern?
Just the paid ones. in the beginning because we weren't getting paid. Like, and that's not in any sort of way. It's just like we weren't getting paid, you know? Yeah, that's fine.
I don't even remember. You referenced 3 names. I don't even.
I know.
It sounds terrible.
I know, it's fine. Anyway, but I think also in terms of you own the trek and you like things as do I. I'm the same way, but I like things done in a very certain way. And I think you believe what I believe, where sometimes it's easier to just do something yourself than have to explain to someone else how to do something exactly how you want it to be done.
I don't delegate.
And so I think in the beginning, especially when it was establishing itself, it was hard to get you to delegate certain things because like it's so personal to you and the stakes are higher where it's harder to let go of some of that stuff. But over time, I've noticed you get better at that, even when it came to like we're sending out those advertiser outreach messages. And even though that's like a general template that we're plugging and playing people into, like for a while it was like, I've got these connections, don't worry about it. Like I'll just handle these conversations. Yeah. And so like things like that where you like slowly allowed and accepted more help, I think was a way that I've noticed growth amongst you over the course of things.
Yeah. I will be hiring a salesperson here once financially.
But that's so huge for you to even say. I remember when you said that to me, I was like, really?
Yeah.
You're going to be able to do that?
Well, this is not something I'm comfortable discussing on air, not for the reasons you might think, but mostly I think that relationship is pretty delicate, and the way that it's handled can be really impactful to like a first impression.
Yeah.
That's as far as I'll get.
But also, like you're dealing with monetary things in regards to your company, so it's a lot less steps in the work path for you to negotiate a deal with someone than for someone else to have to negotiate one and come back to you and check, each step of the way.
Yeah. A lot of this is not an on-air conversation.
Yeah. That's as service level as we need to go.
But in terms of like stuff like social media, where I don't feel particularly strong about anything, I definitely was much more trying to shape every part of the sculpture at a certain point, and there's now parts where I'm just like completely hands off.
Yeah, but I think that's good.
It's also necessary. It just as a business that is trying to scale, that is absolutely a necessary thing. What phrase or habit has the other person have you picked up? What phrase or habit of the other person's have you picked up?
Let's stop being around the bush.
Do you say that?
No, but I think it in my head a lot.
Yeah. Maybe subconsciously. I'd like for the listener to weigh in on this one. I don't know if I have any Chaunceisms.
Yeah, I think just let's stop beating around the bush.
Yeah, I do say that a lot. I feel like I've said it less since you've pointed it out. Now
I thought you were saying it every time as a point.
I mean, I do like some of the tradition of that stuff. I will say that, but until you shamed me.
I didn't shame you. I just pointed it out.
Good question. Chaunce, how is the Mile by Mile project going?
It's going. It's just because I've been quieter online about it doesn't mean it hasn't been. I have still been reading all my little books. I've got everything all nice and organized. Here's the thing. This goes back to, like, with the first 6 months of Backpacker Radio. It wasn't paid. It was just us doing it and trying to see, like, what made sense. And for me, like, this isn't paid, and I don't see any reason to rush myself through what I find to be very interesting stuff. I've read about 150 to 200 books focused around the East Coast and the AT and the land that it covers. I've typed up notes for all of those books. I've got about 10 in the backlog that I'm working through typing up. The problem is that every time I read about one thing, then there's another book and I want to read about that. And then I spend too much time in one period that I lose some of my thoughts around another period, and then I pick up one of those books and then I dive all the way back in. And so I've been having a blast. I'm having a great time. I just need to decide when enough is enough and cut the rabbit holes a bit. And I don't see the need to do that when I'm not at the moment doing this for anyone apart from myself. I don't have a timeline I need to get through for a sponsor or a deadline for something, or I haven't put out an episode yet, so I don't need to put one out in X amount of time before too much of a gap goes between them. I'm not in any of those positions yet. And so because I'm not there yet, I'm really enjoying just like sitting in the research phase. But it has been very fascinating. I've tried to go in order. And so when I look at like what is good enough in terms of research generally for the area at large, I would say generally I have done good enough research for all the separate areas of trail through the Civil War. And then after the Civil War, like the 1860s to the 1910s, I've done a really good amount of research on the industrialization, and like the switch to urbanization, but just like that post-Civil War period is where I'm at right now. And then there's kind of a jump where I went out of order, and I've done a lot of research just reading like From Dream to Reality, or like books that are like from the 1950s to present day, because that's when they're actually building the trail, or the 1910s to present day, because that's, I think it was between 1910 and 1921, I think, that Benton Mackay's article went into the journal, and then things came of that. And so from that point on, then it becomes an idea that the story revolves itself around, and then it becomes they're building it, and then the 50s is when like Earl Schaefer and them, whatever. So all that then becomes very trail focused. But up until then, it's like what's going on in this land that isn't trail focused yet, but that the trail will then pass through. You know, for example, a road intersection where Spotswood crossed in the Shenandoah looking for a route through the mountains, and they found this gap and they got excited and they started firing off volleys while celebrating. You know, like you don't know that shit walking through it, and that has nothing to do with the trail. But it's cool because it's on the trail and you walk right past it, and like that's cool to know. And so I've just been soaking up all of that and really enjoying it. And I've got all my notes organized in meticulous folders on the Google Drive, and they're all there ready for me to turn them into things. I've got the first episode. So basically the first 7 episodes are going to be intro episodes, where it's like an introduction to these different themes across time, where instead of focusing on specific mileage of the trail, it'll focus on the trail at large through those themes. So the first theme is formation and inhabitation. Those are the first 2. So how the mountains formed, what kind of flora, fauna Native Americans inhabited the land prior to white settlement. And that I've got all scripted and written out. And like that's made me think maybe the first 7 episodes are also more in line with a book, because the way it reads for that first part is very intro to a book. So I haven't quite figured that part out yet. But it is very interesting. And the way I've written this first part, I've tried to build it in a way that like how the mountains form flow into how people moved across the U.S. to how they got to these places, to then they're now like making these groups where they're building these cities and they're having these like trade networks and all this crazy shit's happening, and like things are getting big, and you forget that like Hernando de Soto is going to walk into the woods and fuck everything, and then things are all going to change. And it's like now tribes are consolidating because disease is eradicating some of them, and these huge metropolises of culture and trade are now like ghost areas because people have had to move and relocate. And so there's a lot of really cool stories there, and there's a lot of really cool stories to it that don't even go into the nitty gritty of here's a 20-day section on trail, and or a 20-mile section on trail, and here's everything you should know within this 20 miles of what happened here. Just the bigger picture is so cool. That I've gotten lost in the sauce there, and I'm not trying to get out necessarily yet. So, for now, I've got a list of books that I'm trying to work my way through reading and uploading notes for, and when I'm done with those, then I want to sit back and look at maybe transitioning to writing again. I think the problem too is there's so many formats this could take. Like it could obviously be a very good podcast. I'm a little intimidated because of the work that I know that went into this one to just like start with that, because that is a huge undertaking to chunk off. But then I've also thought about like, okay, I've got all these videos of the trail. I can make videos that use my trail videos of walking through these sections as I narrate the story. And that could be like a free consumable on YouTube, or those like first 7 themed things could be able, like, there's so many different things that I could do with the research that I'm not really feeling pressured into deciding what to start with. It's more I'm at the moment loving the game of it, and I'm loving the reading and the learning and all the stories. And like for me, selfishly, like I'm having a great time. I know I should share it with you guys, but I'm having a great time, and I don't want to rush that because I don't have a need to. And so it's not dead. In summation, it's not dead. It's not happening. It's just I selfishly am treating it like a hobby because at the moment that's what it is. And so when it stops bringing me joy, I transition to something different and then I go back to it. But it's really cool. If I never do anything with it, which isn't the goal, but if I never do anything with it, like it's just it'll be cool for the inside of my brain to have learned everything I learned. So if anything, never a loss, but I'm not in a place where I'm like, oh, it's not happening. I think it is still happening and I'm excited to have more time to work on it. I haven't wanted to rush, and so I haven't.
Fair. The best projects come from passion. So
Yeah.
once it starts to feel like work, I think the quality can degrade some. And it also sounds like you're going to have a lot more free time on your hands here shortly.
Sure does sound like that.
I got to take a pee break.
I do too. Great.
Chaunce, how have you balanced full-time work with hiking and the podcast? Any times you had to be secretive with work but can share now?
No, I've never had to be secretive. For any reason other than like maybe something popped up. No, let's go back. So how have I balanced it? It's been, I mean, it's like working two jobs sometimes where like I'll go, like when I worked in person especially, you know, going into work, leaving the house at 7 a.m., getting there at 8, and, you know, working a full day and then driving to Golden and then doing the podcast and then getting home at like midnight, like that. It's a lot on the days it happens. Because when we started recording the podcast, initially we recorded at 6:30 every night was our start time.
Mm-hmm.
Because my work was in person and it was 9 to 5, and by the time I could get to wherever we were after the end of the workday, if I got off at 5 and I left by 5:15, I would get there around 6. If there was traffic, 6:15. You know, it doesn't leave much time. I'm certainly not eating a meal between. And so those were long days. But I was also a younger chicken back then, and when things went remote for COVID, well, even before things went remote for COVID, because Garrett was my boss. And so it was really easy to be like, hey, I've got the podcast today. I need to leave an hour early. And that was something that in person people didn't really get permission to do. So I kind of wiggled my way in there. But when we went remote, it was easier because it was like, hey, I've got an obligation these 2 days this week at this time. And it would just be like me taking off an hour earlier at work. And so what I would do for those days is I wouldn't take lunch. And so the way I would negotiate it with my manager once Garrett got a different job was I would say, I'm working through lunch, but I'm going to leave an hour early because I have something to go to. And they would be okay with that, and they were flexible with that. And then when I got the job that I have now, they were just like way more work-life balance where it's all remote, and it's like if you have something, just block off the time on your calendar so people can't book demos during that time. And so we've been able to do some episodes with earlier recordings with enough time in advance if I can get it on my calendar soon enough. But we do, typically it's more like, it's not me trying to balance work with the podcast. It's trying to balance the podcast with work, because like we'll have conversations where it's like, oh, we could schedule this person this day or this day. And it'll be like, okay, well, we already have 2 recordings this week. I realistically can't put a third and leave work early 3 times in 1 week. That's going to like start to, you know, confuse some people. So let's put it on this date. But I think because a lot of scheduling goes around me and Zach's schedule and our availability, that we have been very good about like balancing it with work and not, there's never a place where it hits ahead because we're usually proactive about what can and can't be managed in advance. There's been some times where like I'll be on a call for work. Like let's say we have this, we bumped the time forward when we both got old to 4:45. It used to be 4:30, but we had a series of events where it was like I keep getting these calls that go from 3 to 4, and then I get off at 4, so I don't get out the door until 4:05 to 4:10, and then I'm not here at 4:30. I'm here like 5 minutes late, and that's not great for anyone. So then we pushed back to 4:45, and now we got like a 5-10 minute buffer for when I leave my desk to when I get here. And that works, but it's still a late night. Like it's still like a wake up, you work until 3:45. If lucky, then you start to prep to go. If you're on a call, then 4. And then from there, go here. It takes about a half hour with the traffic. And then we press record at 4:45, 5 after we've typically done some pre-banter. It's just typically is more around 5. Then we record till like 8, 8:30-ish. I leave here. I get home around 9, maybe 9:30. It just depends on the night. If it's a Jabba episode, longer. If it's not a Jabba episode, sometimes shorter. But that's like a 12, 13-hour day. And so I think it would be hard to balance if I didn't enjoy doing this so much. I think because not for a long time, just for the time, like it doesn't always feel like work. It feels like I get to go somewhere and talk to someone cool and like hang out, and that makes it not like if it felt like a job, if it felt like I was going from my day job to like Wendy's and just working double shifts, I don't know if I would have lasted 8 years. But it's very
Frosties are pretty good though.
They are so good. But it's been fun to do. So it hasn't, if anything, it's helped me at work better because I get my fill of hiking talk and my fill of dirtbaggery and that sort of thing when I come here, and then I like go back to my desk feeling like I've had these conversations and that's good. I haven't had to be secretive with work. The only thing that could be secretive is like if a guest wants to record earlier and it's last minute, and so then I just toss a busy time on my calendar and then I just hope no one notices. But we usually don't put ourselves in those positions, and we schedule things far enough in advance where it's like if I've got something busy for, the end of the day, 3 weeks out, who's going to be like, no,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like 4:45 is the ultimate compromise time because I'd like to be done earlier, but
same.
Obviously you have a 9 to 5,
right?
A 9 to 4, 8 to 4, whatever it is. That 4:45 we found scientifically is as early as you can do it, and it's better for me to be done earlier so I can be there with my family.
The hard thing is the 45 part, because again we tried 4:30 and it was like I'm cutting it too close where this is not looking professional. And I think the thing that's a problem with like demos and things in like a sales world is like 3 to 4 could get booked in my calendar, right? So if I'm blocking off 4:45 on, but I have to account for the time it takes to drive there, I'm blocking off 4 to 6 on my calendar, essentially, because I need to leave the house by 4 to get here by 4:45. So if we were to move it, even when we were doing 4:30, like, okay, well, if we did 4:30 in order to make that work, the reason why we thought it could work was it was like, okay, I just have to leave the house around 3:45. But if I have a meeting that gets booked 3 to 4, that doesn't happen. So essentially, if we didn't do 4:45, the next best thing we could do is 3:45. But then I would have to block off my calendar from 3 to 6. And it's just like there's no, you have to go in those hour increments. There's no, well, it's just 15 minutes because that's not really how like the demo schedule works. So yeah.
Were there any podcasts where you physically suffered through, were sick, exhausted, or otherwise unwell? Seems like you're dying in many of them from an allergy standpoint.
Yeah, vacuuming the rug was huge.
Yeah.
I can't believe we didn't think about that till Jolly told us to do it. But allergies aside, we're also really good about that. Like if Zach's feeling under the weather or there's like a sickness going around with the kids, he'll send out a text and be like, hey, like this is happening, are you comfortable recording? And if I'm like, yeah, I don't care, then we ask the guest and we're like, hey, this is going on, are you comfortable recording? Right? So it's never like we would never want to come here if like I've got COVID or like you've got the flu. Like we would never want to come here and have someone who's traveling through or like about to go do a big hike or any of that stuff come here and get sick from us because we're being irresponsible.
We had a guest not that long ago where I was like, a 6 out of 10 sick, I'd say. And
Yeah.
I think in most circumstances I would have co-hosted, and then we pitched it to them, and we learned that one of them was immunocompromised, so
Yep.
I sat it out.
Yep.
There's definitely been a number of podcasts where I've been sick, especially since having kids. My house is often sick, and I feel like I'm a lot of times battling something. But just generally unwell. I'd say for the 9 months after having the twins, I was very sleep deprived, and I've never felt more out of sorts than the period after having twins and just not sleeping. And like, I've learned that not all kids are created equal. I learned that Leo is pretty easy by all accounts, at least relative to my child havings. So yeah, for 9 months after having the twins and just being sleep deprived, I felt like I was like whatever you want to call it, hungover, not emotionally well. There was a long period where I was just struggle bussing.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember those podcasts.
I mean, we made completely separate group chats during that time, because it was like, hey, Zach's not sleeping. He's a little irritable. He needs a break. If anything is not something that needs his approval on, let's just send it here, so that like he doesn't need to get notifications on his phone even. You know, like I can't imagine what that must be like to go through and live. And so based on me guessing, let's just quiet his phone a little bit while we can. And then I think something, I can't remember what it was, but something happened where you weren't included on a communication for something. And you sent a text where it was like a little snippy, and you're like, from now on, I should be CC'd on this, whatever, going forward. And it was just like, and we're ready to go back to the main chat. He's ready to be involved again.
I think there was a thread where there was a joke about Chaunce getting the show notes and me going in blind, and I did not react to that well.
Oh, yeah.
It was like you were going to get
that was
prepped
exactly
for
what
it, and
was.
I wasn't. And I'm like, that will not be happening. Thank you very much.
It was a joke because we were doing a panel, and I was like, I want to put my answers first, so send it to me and not Zach. And then I think there was a miscommunication over the fact that I was joking.
Yeah.
And so they sent it to me first and not you. And then I had my notes put in there, and you were not happy.
I want to go back and look at the episodes that happened in 2023, because that was the height of delusion. But
that was the time.
Yeah, having twins is a thing. It's a real thing. Not sleeping for a long period of time in your later 30s. There are easier. I would say thru-hiking is about 15 times easier than that.
So sick, probably not. But like exhausted and otherwise unwell, yeah. And like for me, I have not had twins, but I would say at the end of a quarter or the end of a month. Like because I work a sales job and my quota is, ever renewing. It's not about what you did. It's about what you did recently. And so if I'm like not quite at quota and it's like the last couple days of a month and I have to like put a block on my calendar to come here and leave work early and I'm not yet at quota, like I'm not sick, but I'm not mentally well either. I'm very stressed the whole time and worried.
Though I will say, subtracting out the sleep deprivation part of it, there are plenty of days where I am stressed out when I come to the podcast and actually appreciate the podcast because it is able to get my mind off of that.
Yeah. Like
I feel like the podcast does a good job for me to become present in something that isn't the bullshit that I've been swimming in for a long period of time. I'm very grateful to the podcast because it for me serves as a vacuum for that.
It's also such a good reality check where it's like I'm so unwell and just unhappy and just stressed out because I'm one away from my quota or whatever it is I need, and like nothing's going my way and yada yada yada. And then you come in here and Justin True tells like a story about how like they did the lighter and the bug spray to him while he's in a dog cage.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here listening to it like, and I have the fucking audacity to bitch about the day I had.
Puts things in a perspective.
It does. Like there's been so many times I've come in here in one of those moods, and then I just start listening to the guests, and I'm like, my problems don't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like I've never I don't have it hard compared to the average person, and anything that's a mountain to me is a molehill to someone else. And like, gosh, the perspective is nice sometimes.
And all the like the veterans that we've had on the podcast.
Yeah.
And people have gone through some real shit on here.
Yeah, and I'm just like in a bad mood because something didn't go my way today. Like, okay, shut up, Chaunce.
Yeah. Were there any moments you were nervous the podcast was done for? No, I don't think so.
No. I would say that, like, none of us were in the good books after Wisconsin, but, like, we can't be in trouble with ourselves.
I mean, the grand scheme of things, I can now look back at that and laugh.
Same.
Yeah, I think overall.
Same.
I think overall.
But, like, that may be the closest, just being, like, not even, though, because it was, like, we haven't ruined anything. Maybe we burned a bridge, but...
Yeah. Okay, I put a call out on Instagram. We have more Rachel questions, but I want to interrupt it with some Instagram
If you scroll down, there's
questions.
some socials down there, too.
Jess Hikes Trails asks, can I have her Bill's Snuggie?
Oh, Jess, it's not green or purple. And I thought Katie liked to wear it.
Katie's the one who wears it most often.
Yeah, it would be
when she's here.
Stronger take if Katie asked. No, you can't. My dad got it for me as a Christmas present, and it's been in the office on the back of the door for all this time because sometimes it's mysteriously cold in here and I don't have a jacket.
She did follow up saying, "Go Bills."
Go Bills! Sad for the Sabres.
Speaking of Katie, K80.trail asks, how do you manage retaining a friendship while working together, especially when one is in authority position?
We don't put that much work into maintaining a friendship.
We don't really hang out outside of the podcast.
We don't really have a friendship.
No.
So that's the answer. We just don't.
My social time is very limited since having kids. That's not something that's happened to me. That's a choice that I've made. So like when I do have social time, you know, I have a really like small group of friends that I hang out with, and I don't really deviate from that. I don't like when Jenna signs me up for social activities that aren't like in my tight knit group of friends. But I'd say that we get along in a work context in a friendly way.
Yeah. I just like, but I think it's like, it needs even less explanation. Like, what, you're 6 years older than me with a wife and 3 kids. I'm 6 years younger than you, newly married, no kids. We don't really like,
We're in very
not
different
much of
life stages.
Right. Our lives are in very different places. Like, what, can you imagine it being like, Jenna, I'm going to go hang out with someone who's 6 years younger than me and doesn't have kids to just hang out and grab a beer while you watch the kids? That sounds really weird.
I'll ask, I think, the more interesting question, or maybe the targeted question here is like, when we do stuff like the road trip, obviously most of the time on those trips is not on air. So we're working in like a very personal context in a work setting. But for me, it's not, that hasn't ever felt like work. Like when we did the SoCal trip, when we did Wisconsin, New York, you know, we've had times where we have butted heads, and I think we've been pretty open about those confrontations even here on the podcast.
Yeah.
But I think overall we've had fun. I think we've had a good time having a good time on those trips.
Yeah. 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 I forgot the question, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, we don't hang out.
No.
If you both could go back to, this is from Meredith Doyle at to be named for now. If you could go back to the beginning of Backpacker Radio, what advice would you give to yourselves? What would you do differently? And where does Chaunce see herself after co-host of Backpacker Radio? Multiple questions there. Advice to ourselves. I guess going back previously, I would not record on 3 different mics on 3 different laptops. That was technically wrong.
Yeah, but then it gives the fun nostalgia of getting to listen to the early stuff where it sounds bad.
For sure.
Some people love that.
For sure.
I don't know if I would do anything differently.
It'd be nice to make that workflow easier. It would have made the work tied to the podcast less cumbersome. That's a small thing.
Yeah, but at the end, like, we're sitting on a win. We've got 10 million downloads.
Yep.
That's not small by any means.
Nope.
And so to go back and change something, everything ended up working.
But if we were going to do this over again and we had the knowledge that we had now, we would not repeat that.
I think we'd be exhausted. If we knew everything we know now and we had to go back and you put us in my basement, we would be like, we're tired.
Yeah. No. It would be, it's a lot. The whole thing is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there's been too many like catastrophic mistakes, honestly. I could probably think of something if you gave me more
could.
time to think on it. But the biggest mistakes would just be like the technical side of it, because I think the interview or like format mistakes that we've made has made us stronger.
And we've also learned from, like, we can't get to where we are right now if we didn't have things that made us learn to do what we do now. So that's confusing.
This is from Frosty_the_Earthling. Love to hear you guys' thoughts on smoking weed on hikes and for recovery. I'm not a weed guy.
I still work for corporate America.
I got high on one Patreon episode. If you guys want to go back, it's still available.
We'll do an episode when I retire.
Yeah.
Until then, you
Chaunce
get corporate Chaunce.
Chaunce has never smoked weed.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. But I know weed is obviously very prevalent in the thru-hiking community. It's just not my cup of tea. But I have no negative feelings on anyone that wants to partake whatsoever. I wish I liked weed. That's my biggest thing. I wish that I could smoke weed and feel the way that I think that most people feel when they smoke weed. They're just giggling and having a good time. I get anxious. I'm like, am I sitting correctly? Is that person like every anxious thought that could exist enters my brain? So I've just stopped. And this is from Lauren Planis, Lauren.p21. Longtime listener since 2018. Love seeing your friendship blossom throughout the... See, people think that I think that's an important thing.
My mom has a photo of us framed in her office at work. I was like, Mom, why is that here?
Yeah.
So weird.
But, I mean, just because we don't hang out outside of the podcast...
I just mean I hate you.
No. But the point is, we spend enough time on the podcast that, like, there's a element of friendship that exists just on a work level.
Well, also, why don't we record 3 episodes in a week? We typically try to avoid that because then the segments aren't interesting enough because then we have nothing new to talk about. If we went and hung out outside of this, you'd miss all the good content.
Yeah, you have to experience some life between episodes to make the episodes good. And then she adds no notes, just tears.
Same.
I haven't vetted these questions, so we're all getting these together.
That's fine. We've got one more before we have to switch the camera.
Oh, okay. I'll do this one. This is from Austin McDaniel, our guy. I was trying to see if I can still submit to be blah, 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 blah.
Oh, is this him asking about the guest co-host?
Yeah,
I think he sent that while we were recording.
I think just to be a guest.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was guest co-host.
No. Could be wrong about that.
I was trying to see if I can still submit to be a guest co-host for an episode.
Oh, he might have just copy and pasted it to both accounts.
Oh, this is to Backpacker Radio from 1 hour ago.
Okay.
I saw there was a link to apply, but didn't have time until now to figure it out.
Do we need to switch SD cards?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Let me do that.
Couple more social media questions. This is from Griffin Lovelady, G Lovelady 2020. I've got a lot of questions. Number 1, how dare you?
I know. Sorry.
That ended up being the only question that I got, at least. This is from James Washburn. Over under on how long before Chaunce announces she is pregnant?
As I crack another beer. Yeah, I could see why everyone would lead there with the thoughts, but I would just announce I was pregnant.
Hams will do that.
I need a napkin. So, fortunately, I'm wearing leather pants. It all just slides right off into this chair for whoever takes it from me. Not only do you get the chair, but you get old beer.
Chaunce was trying to sterilize herself.
Weird that the first 2 cans didn't do that, though. It was only this one. Just trying to leave my mark on this chair for whoever takes it next. It's gonna smell like farts and beer. Yeah, no, not pregnant. Not open to it. It's like definitely in the future for me, unless something catastrophic changes and I find out that I'm like not a suitable host or something. I don't know. That'll be depressing if it happens. But you know what's hard is objectively I do like kids. I just don't really love other people's kids. And every time I'm like, I think I'm
Whose
ready.
kids do you like?
Well, so I think I would like my own. It's just like whenever you're like getting close to being like, yeah, let's talk about this, and then like something gross happens. You just like see a kid doing something gross or being loud or screaming, and you're just like, that's another month of birth control for me. So yeah, it'll probably happen. I just don't know like how fast the woman body works, or I haven't really actually been trying. So I think where we sit right now, in a totally honest way, is we're not trying, but we're not preventing. We're just like living life as it comes, and I don't think like at my age, at my geriatric age of 34, that it's as easy as when you're like 18. So I think unless I put some concerted effort into this, like we're probably not gonna do anything with it. So I think I'm gonna have to actually like try. That'll happen probably in North Carolina. Denver's just like, it doesn't set the mood. You know, you look out your window and someone's completely folded over, and not because they're doing yoga, it's because they're just like having a fentanyl outbreak. And that's not like the most romance building, but I could see when I get to the burbs being more receptive to the effort it will take.
Well, it's a moving target. If you do it now, by the time you get to the white picket fence.
Yeah, no, I'm like 2 days before period time now. I've been tracking. I got one of those apps that track, because I didn't even know like what the fuck's a luteal phase. I don't, like I'm the worst person to have on girl stuff episodes because I don't know a woman's body. Just like, who would have taught me? Not school. There's like a follicle phase. One of them you're supposed to eat red meat. I don't know. I have no fucking idea. I don't even. I've never changed a diaper. I am so ill-equipped for this shit. So I got one of those apps so that I could at least learn what these phases are. And I am in the phase of not fertile. It says in all caps, not fertile. Hold on, let me show you. 1 second. Mm-hmm. Not fertile. Yeah. And it syncs with my Oura ring, which is not connected to my finger because I forgot to charge it last week. But then it gives you a nice calendar, and it tells you, see, I'm going to get my period on the 21st. Uh-huh. And then it'll tell you, I'm going to ovulate on June 6th. So okay. When I was in here for that one episode and I said I was ovulating, I knew I was ovulating.
So if Chaunce is not drinking at the next podcast.
Yeah, no, but that would mean I would have to actually be trying on the 6th.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like we're not living that kind of a...
You're not living La Vida Loca yet?
Not in Denver.
Yeah.
So basically I have the tools and I'm starting to understand the woman's body, and those are two important things. It's just like, what do you want to do? Move across the country while pregnant? I'd rather not. And I also don't want to be pregnant in like the heat of summer. I made a list of months and what 9 months after those months mean, in terms of like, if you bang in March, you're having a December baby. Mm-hmm. I don't want a December baby. I don't want to combine presents with Christmas and birthday. I saw Charlie get hosed on that throughout life, where it was like he wants a bike and it's like, all right, but it's your birthday and Christmas, and then I get March birthday and it's like enough time has passed where you renew the joy.
Yeah.
I don't want to group, like, it's a special day for you. I don't group them together. There's too much shit going on in December, so I don't know where it is, but I have a chart somewhere of months that I'm like okay to try during and not okay during. And I think we've gone through a recent patch of months that would have led to winter babies. And as they say in the Sheep Detectives, no one likes a winter sheep. So
yeah, I've only had my birthday
myself
in December, surprisingly.
Mine's March, so I'm also winter, but
yeah,
no, not pregnant.
Yeah, people always ask, does it suck to have your birthday so close to Christmas? Mine's 2 days after Christmas.
But you're Jewish.
We celebrate Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up culturally non-Jewish. Mm. And yeah, Christmas, even for my Jewish mom, was the bigger of the holidays. I think I celebrated one day of Hanukkah my entire life.
Oh. Well, my friend Josh, his birthday, he grew up on our street growing up, and his birthday was Christmas Eve, still is, and he is Jewish. And so it was like, oh, well, at least it's not Christmas Eve. But then it's also like, yeah, but none of my friends are free still.
See, I was going to say the opposite, especially in college, like the first couple years of college, all your friends are home from school and you can have a proper celebration then.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've never had a June birthday, so I can't compare the two, but...
See, but then you get the summer months, you can't celebrate at school. and it's like everyone gets the class parties and you don't because you're a summer month.
Yeah.
That stinks too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't change it, but I also don't have the comparative notes, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm just speculating. But basically, I've thought about it. I have thought about it, and that's about as far as I've gotten.
Okay, these are back to Rachel questions. Each share one of your highest highs and lowest lows from the podcast. We mentioned not hitting the record button
That
for
was a
Akuna's
low.
episode. That was definitely a low. I felt he was so sweet about it, but that was definitely a brain fart moment.
Yeah, it was bound to happen at some point, though.
We've done
So
360 of these, so yeah, one for every day of the year. Percentage-wise, 99.5%. I don't know what the
right,
number is.
like objectively, that goes back to that quote. It's like a Kobe thing about how many shots Kobe makes, but then how many he also misses. Where it's like the ratio of like what you get versus how many tries you got to make.
Yeah.
Anyway, all that to say, for as many tries as we've had as this,
Yeah.
to only fuck it up once is huge.
We were bound to fuck up something, and we fucked up other things for sure.
Oh my god, yeah.
But that one hurt, just because that sucks.
Well, yours is higher risk. I forget to hit record and we put a cat photo.
Yeah.
You know, because it's video, but
Yeah. The live Wisconsin live was a low, mostly just because the Ice Age Trail Alliance was very sweet to us, and they were definitely disappointed to be.
they also encouraged heavy drinking.
No, I know they're not totally complicit in this, but they were.
Yeah, but they okay, but that doesn't make me feel any less shame, sure. But at the same time, I think we learned things from that trip.
Yeah.
So it's hard to want to reverse something when you learn a valuable lesson from it, because that's called growth.
Yeah. I think the lows, we've done a good job about being pretty transparent about them. I don't know. Do you have any others that you can think of?
Lows. No, I don't think so. I think for any lows for me is like a Mara leaving, you know, like some like and it's also a happy, right? Like this, I guess the same thing that I'm doing flipped, where it's like we're happy that you're living your life and that like you're, you know, like all the things that you're doing, and like that's very exciting and fun, but like it changes the vibe somewhere, and that's been for me the lows is like, you know, how often do we talk to Mara these days? Because it was a work relationship, but she was great. And so stuff like that, where it's like you're in the midst of a transition in a role with someone, and like, even all the times Elise left, she can try, but she can't stay away. But it being like, ugh, we were in such a flow. It was so easy. Things were so nice. Like now it's going to be different. And like those are for me the lows where we have had such good luck on having such competent and like strongly competent help with the roles that we've outsourced, that when you get someone who is that good at the work they do, when they inevitably move on to something else, it's hard to not just be like, oh shit, like I'm gonna miss that, just because they make your life so easy.
Yeah. I mean, conversely for me, that is a high. Is just like the people that we've been exposed to here is. I'm immensely grateful to the fucking incredible team that we've had here.
Yeah.
With Rachel, with Elise, Polly, Mara, Leah. Now we've got Chris on the team, who's fucking awesome with video editing. The whole operation is just it. Like it. I feel very fortunate, not only with Backpacker Radio, just the Trek, just people who are talented, who care about the mission of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Has been very rewarding for me.
I will say a high for me is by sitting in this chair, and I hate to say it like this because I don't want to advertise my chair to anyone. You can all suck it. But by sitting in this chair, I get a privileged position of I can ask whatever the fuck I want. And it doesn't need to be on the show notes. If it comes in my head, I can ask it. And everyone that's listening to this, all they can do is listen. Right? Like they can be hiking on trail and they can be screaming a question into their ear pods and just like really wanting to know something. And we've gotten that at times in the beginning where it was like and I don't know if you remember this, but this only just popped into my head this second, where in the beginning we would get some feedback where it was like, I wish you would have asked more about this, or I wish you would have dug deeper on this. Because we weren't like maybe thinking about it in that way yet. And sometimes we'd have people write in being like, I was just hoping you'd ask this and you didn't. And the way I'm trying to say it is that, like, because I'm in this seat, for good or for bad, I get to ask whatever my brain thinks. And so I get 360 however many of these people that come and sit in this chair next to us, and they're people that in my own world, excluded from this, I would never have the opportunity to sit down with and chat with one-on-one. And I'm fucking asking the CEO of Whole Foods if he prefers vampires or werewolves in Twilight, because I can.
Yeah.
Like, that's spoiled. And not everyone gets to do that. And not a lot of people get to do that. And I think it's really, that's been a highlight for me, is being able to not only talk to so many cool people that have done so many cool things from so many different walks of life that just, like, are willing to share such intimate details and personal details and, like, sometimes sad and however many details about their lives. And I get to sit here in front of them, and I have the power of dictating which way this conversation goes and which questions I'm asking next. And I can be so selfish or so not selfish in how I do it. It's just, it's something that you don't ever want to take for granted, because it really is as great as it might be to listen to this, which I say with a grain of salt because you are listening to me talk in your ears and that makes me cringe. But I assume if you're listening, you think it's great to listen to, and as great as it must be to listen to, it's even greater to sit in this chair and be able to steer the conversation. That's a lot of fun. Hear.
Yeah. No, it is. I wouldn't still be doing this if it wasn't still fun. That's the most operative thing.
Yeah.
Is like, it's every episode is rewarding, even if there's just like sometimes like a sliver of insight or just like a funny interaction. Just the people that we get access to via this podcast, it really is a privilege.
Oh yeah, and it's just like being able to ask whatever you want, like throwing someone off because you're asking them to fuck, marry, kill, weather.
Yeah. And
they're like, I don't think my job would let me answer this. Like, that's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that.
Yeah. I'm tempted to highlight some of my favorite guests, but that's an upcoming question. It's the next question, actually. Discuss a few of your all-time favorite guests, especially those you didn't know ahead of time. So there's two different categories here: those that you suspected would be fun guests, and then like the question more directly is the ones that kind of caught us off guard. For me, the ones that caught me off guard, I think Gabe Vasquez.
Okay.
That was really good. That was one of those where I think that was Julia Sheehan recommended Gabe.
Yes.
But like I knew next to nothing about Gabe before he came in, and that was one of those where just like 3.5, 4 hours absolutely fucking flies by the entire time. He was immortalized in our soundboard with a good quote, something about the PCT. I don't remember exactly what it was. We've learned that my soundboard is broken. Pretzel, to a certain extent, like I've had interactions with Pretzel, and like I wasn't sure if that was going to translate.
Pretzel 1 was great.
Pretzel,
I think we only had him on once, right?
Just one time.
But we've been talking about having him back on.
Yeah, no, Pretzel's a firecracker. Pretzel, if you're listening to this, anytime you pass through the Denver area, you better fucking show up here, because you are awesome. Skirka, again, that's one that shouldn't catch me off guard. It does not.
Justin True
is a great one.
The problem is I wish I just had a list of all of them in front of my face.
Fancy Feast?
Fancy Feast was surprisingly great. Not because we didn't think she'd be great, but she was a girl that found his socks.
We didn't know shit about her.
We knew not a thing.
That was the biggest wild card, and now she's been on the podcast twice.
Yeah, that was one of those where it was just like we feel like we're just chatting with someone and it's funny. The girl stuffs.
Yep.
Girl stuffs have always been funny. But that's not a specific guest. That's just like the atmosphere. Vegas was a great one.
Vegas was very good. I know that you had more of an interaction with her, but Nancy East.
Oh my God, I love Nancy.
Yeah.
She's on the AT right now. If you guys liked the Nancy East episode, she's vlogging her hike on YouTube, and she's posting it on her Facebook and stuff. You should try to find her.
A few that I expected to be good and were having Courtney Dowalter on the podcast. That was a big honor for sure. John Mackey was I really enjoyed that one because I love the business side of things. Not to say that Chaunce didn't, obviously, but like he was as good as advertised.
You liked that one in the way that I liked Mills Kelly, where it was just like I'm eating up this history stuff, and that's not necessarily like your hyperfixation, but that doesn't mean you don't appreciate it.
Yeah, Mills is fucking incredible. His ability to recall every fact by memory is just supernatural.
I sat here so jealous because I was like, I can't recall anything. And like, that's a fear around Mile by Mile is like, God forbid, like I could do a presentation at Trail Days and like give all this info I've like, and like make it pretty and do all this stuff. And the part where I go, is where it's like, and now we open it for questions and answers. And someone asks the question, and purely because my recall is bad and not because I haven't properly researched, I can't answer it. And then I completely discredit myself is a fear. And so when he was answering those questions, I was like, I am so in awe of you.
He has an encyclopedic memory. It is crazy.
Tate.
Yeah.
Pyro.
Yeah, Pyro.
My old camper. That will never not be a funny episode. Yeah. The fact that I wish you never mentioned to him that you knew that he was posting blogs on the trek about slowly becoming a vampire, because I would love to see where that could have gone.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't going to bring that up.
Was he not?
No. I think a reader pointed that. A reader sent in an email being like, hey, by the way, I think this is happening.
That's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Mike Cleland.
Yeah, sure.
I would fly back here any day for another owl conversation with UFOs. We had him back to back with Justin True.
Yeah.
March 31st to April 7th, 2025. That was a good back to back.
Yeah. Obviously, Kevin Nealon in the fucking camper van.
Pardon My Take. Talk about full circle. I'm ripping off these segment ideas from Pardon My Take because I was listening to them on the PCT and like trails and stuff. And they did Grit Week in a van with a license plate that I remembered from a photo. And we went to pick up our van and I saw the license plate and I was like, Zach, this is Pardon My Take's Grit Week van. And we looked it up. It is the same fucking van.
It had the same license
It's
plate.
not the same make and the same model. It is the same exact van that they took. I remember just sitting in it that moment being like, this is full circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Insane.
He was on a couple times and for one of our live podcasts, but Dirtmonger,
I was just about to say him.
He's hiked everything and he's just a philosopher of life. I mean, honestly, I could go on forever, but yeah, it's been honestly so fucking fun.
The thing that is hard is I'm scrolling through all the pages to like look for like just to like jog the memory, and I'm only on page 9 out of 38 in the Treks logs. Scuba Steve, that was one of the first 5 episodes.
One of your buddies?
One of my buddies, but I thought he had some funny stories.
Yeah.
He's the one that hiked the AT in a scuba suit. Because it was wet.
Yeah.
Let's see. Stu was the guy that hiked with his twin daughters. I thought he was endearing. Maybe we can move on to the next question as I scroll, but I'm just going to keep saying things. Oh, you know who else was good? Quack, Double Magic, the guy who like kept putting himself in really, really life-threatening situations and had like no phase by it. Was just like,
he's like some of the craziest shit.
Yeah, dude, fucking path crafting in Alaska with no experience.
Yeah.
I think I actually asked on that episode, do you want to die?
We'd be remiss to not mention Pony.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Pony was a great one.
He's long overdue. Moose
Juice was a good one.
Yeah. There's way too many. I'm
on page 12 now. I'm going to keep going while we do other questions.
Yeah. You have to limit this to one. Which guest were you the most nervous to interview? Mine is easy, Kevin Nealon. Because I was starstruck. Like, I'm a big SNL nut. I've seen him in all the Adam Sandler movies. I watched Weeds back in the day. Like, Kevin Nealon was a face that I grew up with. I love his stand-up. That for me, that was like shooting for the moon to even pitch him to be on the podcast. And when it was going to happen, like, I got nervous instantly by the yes.
I remember that. And I remember in the interview, like, you were acting a little tweaky.
Yeah.
Because, like, you were just, like, I could feel your nerves. I was like, this is so weird.
We also went to a coffee shop beforehand, and I got, like, a triple espresso, so I was over-caffeinated.
Yeah.
The van itself was hot because the windows were facing south.
And we were all packed in to make space.
I was sweating profusely, both nervous and just being fucking hot as hell. And, like, we're literally shoulder to shoulder that entire interview.
Oh, who's the guy with the hair suitcase?
Oh, Peter.
Loved that episode.
Yeah. He's been on a couple.
Yeah, for me, thankfully, the Kevin Nealon, I think I was still riding the high of none of this is real.
Yeah.
That just, like, it didn't And also you were so nervous that I was like, one of us is going to have to not be nervous. For me, I think it was Pete McBride. Because he's a National Geographic photographer, and when I was in high school, like, I used to be like, I want to be a National Geographic photographer. So I followed like Ami Vitale, Pete McBride, like all these different names of Nat Geo, Jimmy,
Chin.
What's his fucking name? Yeah. And so I had these, like, just these names, Renan. I followed them all because I was like, I just want to see what they're doing. And so I had followed him since like high school. And that was one of those where I was like, I think he's in Boulder. Like, we could reach out to him. And it didn't necessarily have that much overlap with long distance hiking, but it was one of those where I was like, if he says yes, we got to do this.
Yeah.
And he showed up and he was just sitting in that chair. And I remember being like, this is freaking wild. So maybe that one, just because that I had just known of him for so long leading up to it. Yeah, that's going to be my answer for that one.
What were some of the I love my job moments you had while recording or traveling for the show? I think that's probably overlap with what we just said.
Yeah, anytime I'm on a road trip. Yeah. Anytime I'm on a trail and it's not on my dollar.
We went to a Bills game.
Right.
That was sponsored.
And I hate to bring it back to money because it's like, realistically, like, I could, if I want to go do the Trans-Catalina Trail, I could go do the Trans-Catalina Trail. But there's something novel about it being on someone else's dollar, where it's just like, it brings you into the mindset of like, I'm sorry, I'm being paid to do this. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And then you stand there and you're looking at this great view, and like, we're a bottle of wine deep and we're trying to commandeer a sailboat. Yeah. Right. And it's just like, and then we end up on the sailboat and we're standing there on the sailboat. Like, how the fuck did we get here? Also, I'm being paid right now. Like, it's just insane. Yeah. So for me, that was always very surreal, was when I'm on a trip outside of an office. I'm not in this room. I'm just like, I'm somewhere outdoors. And there's just like one of those come to Jesus moments where you remember, like, I'm also technically on the clock, which is so strange, but like, fuck yeah. I don't know. Those are always the ones where I'm like, hey, this is cool. I don't care who you are. This is cool.
Yeah. No, it is. There's times where to the listener it might seem like a dream job, and it actually is. The road trips especially, because like, we intentionally scheduled that to be as fun as possible. Right. Selfishly, and it is.
But it's also like, okay, well, like, how hard, like, what's the hard part about balancing this with your 9 to 5? And it's like, not quitting my 9 to 5. Yeah. You know, like, it's never gotten to the place where the early dreams of like, maybe that could be everything. You know, it's never. And granted, a different person on a different budget, maybe, but I have these white picket fence dreams, and I try to fully fund my Roth IRA. You know, like, stuff that takes it and puts it in other places. But to even be at a point where you could consider like, wow, could this fund my lifestyle? You know, realistic thought process is like, no, most people don't get past the dreaming part of that, where they think like, that would be so cool, but that would never happen. Like, to even get as far as is this realistic play? Maybe it never got to this is my full-time thing. Like, maybe that didn't happen, but for it to even get as close as weighing if it's realistic in a dirtbaggy way is like, that's really cool.
Yeah. No. Again, thank you to the listener, because without you guys, that part is not even remotely true.
And like, but also like, without it, like, we're not gonna sit here and just talk to each other for 8 years. No. You know, like, it's a necessary evil. It has to happen, but it's really nice that it's possible that it does, because that's still kind of crazy.
Yep. What will you miss most about interviewing together?
Well, this is a different question for both of us, because you're still going to be interviewing. You're just not going to be interviewing with me. Yeah. I'm going to be on an island alone, away from all the interviews, looking back longingly on my time. So
I'll start. I think you answered it well earlier, is that we do have a really good unspoken communication about the flow of the interviews. And like, that's not something that's going to be able to be recreated, because that came from years of mediocre interviews and just like feeling out the other person. And that's not something that you can just like recreate elsewhere. Yeah, that's a magic that requires a lot of time.
Yeah. I'm going to be in my garden, so I don't know how to answer this because I'm not going to be here. So I don't have an answer. Right? Because I'm not, that's quite how the interviews without. Discuss. What will you miss? Yeah, what will you miss most about interviewing together? I'm not going to be interviewing at all. Well, maybe on the Patreon here and there, but it's still not together and it's not in this context and I'm not in my chair. You know? Is that a cop-out answer?
No, that's fair.
I just think this is more of a you question, I think.
If you had to give each other new trail names, what might they be?
Oh, what was it you called yourself the other day? Oh, we tried to give you that name. Free Bleed. Remember we named you Free Bleed the other day? Because you said if you got your period on trail, you wouldn't wear a tampon, you would just free bleed. That's your trail name, is Free Bleed.
I'll take it. I have to go back to your most iconic story. I'll call you Poo Hound.
Fine. Fine.
Free Bleed and Poo Hound.
Hitting a trail near you.
Which guest or conversation totally changed your mind about a trail, piece of gear, hiking philosophy, or something else? I don't know if anything has honestly come from the podcast itself. I feel like I pick up things about the trail while I'm on trail. That's where I'll give Jabba a lot of credit. I feel like I've picked up small things from him more so than anyone else while hiking. A specific thing, I'll have to think on it, but I'm sure I picked up a lot from him.
I've got my answer.
Go ahead.
Gummy Bear, his episode, another great guest, his episode has done more than anything else ever has to convince me not to hike the Arizona Trail.
With snakes.
I know I'm out on the Florida Trail. That's just like a given.
Yep.
But the Arizona Trail, I was like, oh, PCT Desert was great, says girl who doesn't see snake for 650 miles. Arizona Trail could also be great. It's 800 miles. It's a good length. It's a nice medium. Put it on the list. And then we talked to him, and he compared the 2-mile stretch of high grass that he had to go through where he could hear the rattles, but he couldn't see them. And we compared it to that scene in Jurassic Park where the velociraptors are in the tall grass. Ever since then, there has not been a serious part of my brain that is considered the Arizona Trail. And I don't know if I would.
Yeah.
So he scared me out of it.
Yeah, that counts. That's a good example for sure. I got to put more thought into that for myself, but I'll say that the bidet demonstration from Mr. Skirka has not changed my mind about my approach to that.
Yeah, there's no chance I will wipe my ass with my hand.
Yeah. I might skip a question or two here.
Yeah.
Let's go to the podcast segments that lived and died. Just a retrospective looking back.
Oh, they're missing some.
Horse facts.
Great one.
Yeah. That can only live for so long, but that was fun while it lasted.
Which leads into one that she didn't list, which is Fox News.
Sure.
Fox News was great.
Yeah.
News about foxes.
Yeah. Same concept,
right.
Just different animal. Gross or not gross? I'd like to think that that's not permanently retired because we brought that back as recently. I want to say the Austin podcast.
It's like a thing in the week. It's like if we have an update.
Yeah. God, I probably left out so many good gross or not gross. Just having kids at home, the grossest shit happens all the time. Oh, here's one. So my boys, especially the twins, Leo sometimes, they just love pissing in the backyard. And they'll just literally go to the edge of like the concrete patio step and just go piss. Sometimes they get lazy and they'll just piss on the concrete patio step itself. But the other day I went outside and I think it was Ollie goes, Dad, I did it. And I'm like, you did what? He goes, I did it. And I walked outside and there was a human turd. He'd just taken a shit off the concrete patio step.
These are your children. If there's ever been a question, these are your children.
Yeah. So I grabbed one of Sierra's poop bags and picked up.
That's so funny.
Picked up a human shit with a plastic bag. That was funny.
That is so funny.
I don't even know if that qualifies as gross or not gross, but I have 1,000 examples like that have just left my memory bank. Point, counterpoint. In concept, that was a good one. That was just like a hotly debated thing. We could probably bring that back.
It was also like Cinnamon Court.
Yeah, similar. Cinnamon Court was more... God, we had a few good ones where people would like send in their hotly debated thing and we would weigh in on it as a jury. But yeah, point counterpoint is a little bit more basic. Reddit Brainbuster, that was just us scrambling in the early days trying to find questions via Reddit. And Patent Pending, that one's
still around.
Yeah, we did that with Thurston.
I'm going to pee my pants again because I keep drinking beer. So you just sit tight and I'm going to be right back.
Let's push the button.
We also forgot pup dates. Pup dates was a big one when Harper was more of a puppy. There's not as many other than she's still really cute. Someone did actually, I thought about this today, I almost did. Someone asked if they can have one more episode with Harper in studio. So I almost brought her today, but then I figured you probably haven't seen that message, so I should say it out loud first.
For me, it's never about me. It's about the rules of the building and people who would tattle on it. When the podcast happened later, it's less of an issue.
Well, also you can be like, yeah, I told her off. She'll never be back.
Yeah.
So we've got that excuse in our corner this time. So at some point, I will probably oblige to that. She's also so much calmer than she used to be. She's such a sweet, angelic little angel girl. I love her so much. But
it's nice when dogs get past their puppy phase.
Pup dates,
they just kind of hang out.
What else do we do? There was more than just that, I feel like. 1 minute gear review is still in effect. We still do
1-star trail reviews.
1-star trail reviews. That one was
Priest confessions.
The priest confessions. Yep. I'm
sure there were others.
Yeah, they'll come to me, just not right now.
Yeah. Jeez. Maybe we'll just end with. Do we want to do? Oh, I guess we'll start with this. What are some of the remaining dream guests we've never reached out? I'm including this mostly because Rachel has notes, and I always like including Rachel's notes. Let's throw some names into the ether, and maybe a listener has a better connection than we've managed. Wes Larson from Tooth and Claw. That's one we've been working on for a long time.
Yeah, Rachel has a note in parentheses. Please email me back, Wes. Please. From Rachel. So if anyone knows him, can you tell him to answer Rachel's emails? She's too sweet for this.
Yeah. One that's not on this list is we would obviously love to have Cheryl Strait on the podcast. That's a shooting moon for sure, but that would be fucking amazing.
I would also like this Cameron girl on.
Yeah?
This cutesy girl on the PCT. I love her.
I'm going to reach out. I want to get it a little bit closer to PCT Trail Days because that's realistically when it could happen, but I didn't want to ask about a festival happening in 3 months. Bill Bryson, I think that's a tough nut to crack from my understanding, but that would be fucking incredible.
That would be so good. He's such a good writer. I don't care what you think about his AT hike. Objectively, he is a great writer, and he's written so many things apart from the AT book that are just funny and dry-witted humor, and I think it's because he's spent so much time in the UK that he's got that like British sense of humor with his writing, which is just. And the other thing I really like about Bill Bryson is how he inserts facts into his writing. Like he's not just telling you I went on a hike. He's taking like 8 different side trails down. Like I hiked past this thing, and by the way, this thing da 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 da. Like he had the Notes from a Small Island was one of his books about England, and he talked about like the wash basin and the sink in one of the places he was staying, and he went into the history of why they existed, or whatever part of the hostel it was that he went into the history of, and it was just like, I never would have thought of this, and this is such a creative little way to keep my attention on the story without actually needing to have like anything like shocking happen in that scene. So I think he's a great writer. I would love to talk to him. And
we all owe him a debt of gratitude because he's undoubtedly made thru-hiking more popular. A Walk in the Woods is the most popular thru-hiking book. I would imagine that's...
You think more than Wild?
That's a good question. I mean, there's been a lot more people that have hiked the AT than the PCT, and I imagine in terms of books that have inspired people to hike the trail, that's... I don't know. I'm speculating.
I don't know either.
That could be wrong, but yeah, Bill Bryson is a legend. Cheryl Strait is also a legend. Nick Offerman, I feel like we got close to the stratosphere there.
I think we can still get closer.
Yeah. No, I want to make it happen. Nick Offerman would be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And this last one on the list, Matthew McConaughey.
If any of these ones happen and I'm not like the first phone call made, I would like the world to riot. Because if Matthew McConaughey sits in this seat and I'm not in this seat, and there was any chance in the realm of life that I could have sat 2 feet away from Matthew McConaughey, I will find you.
Can I say what you said when I mentioned there was a possibility that we could interview him?
Is it worse than I will find you?
No.
Because that's what I just said to you. If you don't.
It depends on.
Well, I don't know. What'd I say?
You said, I would ruin the chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, or maybe it was we'd have to throw the chair away after.
Yeah, something like
to
that. And
effect.
you know what? I stand by that. You know what, Jabba? You want my chair? Come by after Matt does, and you can have it.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
I don't want to be too long-winded with this. Do we want to do advice? Maybe we'll save that for the live podcast. We can save the advice for the live podcast.
I have no idea what's in store for the live podcast. So
Yeah.
I am just a friend here.
Yeah, I don't even know how long this podcast has been because we're in the 9th file at this
It's been
point.
less than 3.5 hours.
Yeah. That's
because
fair.
we only have a max. It's been about 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Okay. We'll save it for the live podcast.
Yeah.
And we've got, I think these are emails and Instagram comments and all the good stuff. This is from Sammy Ellison _ I'm depressed about this, to be honest. Cinnamon Connection, Cry Face, Paprika Pals. Come on, you can't do this, Chaunce. Who's going to fight Viking when he's on the episodes? Who's going to give Zach a hard time? I saw you posted your new house. I want to be happy for you. I am actually, but you'll be very missed.
Here.
This is from Lynn G96. I'm in denial. I miss you when you miss a week. I'm so sad, but then thrilled to hear you may still be involved. Hopefully we'll be hearing North Carolina stories. This is from Rev CPH. Chaunce will be missed. Irreplaceable podcast host. Hope she has a million new adventures in North Carolina. Mountain to Sea Trail Thru-Hike.
Fun fact, I actually almost bought a house on the Mountain to Sea Trail. Garrett is a more suburban boy than me, so he would not do as well on a rural road where it's just like a county road that has an offshoot with some houses and is not like a community. So I had to hold myself back on that one because I know in the heart of hearts that I have that it wouldn't be Garrett's perfect fit, and we are a team. But there was a house that backed up on Fuller Lake to the MST where like literally like you could have gone from our gate onto the trail, and I was like, this is a sign. It's my calling. I will have my hiker hostel. All my things will just continue to be, and that is it. And then I talked to Heidi more about the MST and how it's like a lot of road walks. And sneakily, we had that episode where that person was talking about the MST, and I was like, oh, really? I heard it's a lot of road walks. Mm-hmm. Well, that's why, because I was looking at this one house, and I was like, But then I guess it's not as desirable of a trail to do in its full length. Basically what Heidi told me was that if there's ever a time I really consider through hiking the MST, to talk to her, and she will talk me out of it. Yeah. And typically that's where I'd be like, haha, okay, and then do it anyway. But you said that to me about section hiking the Colorado Trail, and I took the haha approach, and I, in retrospect, maybe should have listened. I also listened to you about not starting the AT in February, and I froze my balls off in March. Mm-hmm. So when she says that, and she's a trusted source, it makes me think maybe I wouldn't want to hike that in completion. But anyway, MST, I almost bought a house that was directly on top of it, and that would have been something.
You could do the mountains part.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. And segment 10 is what goes around like Fuller Lake, and that is apparently good. It's Eno Lake and Fuller, or Eno River and Fuller Lake. I don't know. But, or Falls Lake. I'm so dumb. Whatever.
I don't know the geography
at all. Fine. I'll just kick myself about this for the next 12 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to do the road walking either. There's a lot of good hiking out your way where I don't think you have to walk on roads to do what you want to do.
No, I don't.
Yeah. And this last one is from
Heidi.
Yeah, who's soon to be your new best friend, Sketching Summits. So sad to see Chaunce leave Backpacker Radio, but selfishly so excited to have her close to me.
I'm selfishly excited for that too. Also, Heidi's got a if you don't know her art, Sketching Summits, it's fantastic. But if you do, or if you don't know her art but you do know Jolly from Jolly Gear, they have a collab that they are doing pre-orders for now, and by the time this goes out it might be actually for sale. I just made my pre-order, but she has a pattern that she made with one of her
I saw
prints.
It looks really nice.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, I already ordered one.
Yeah.
She's a wonderful artist, and it's someone who went to school for art and isn't that good at it. Like when you see someone that's just naturally so skilled at it, it's just like you just can't help but look at them in awe.
Yeah.
So
and I guess I would be personally remiss to end an episode looking back at Backpacker Radio without giving more of a shout out to Jabba. I know that might be weird given the context of recent episodes, but personally, I'm very grateful. Like, this podcast was definitely benefited by having him. He was the first guest of the podcast. He's always been fucking just a ball of energy, and you don't even have to comment on this. I just want to say that I love Jabba very much, and the podcast wouldn't be where it is today without him.
The podcast's not going anywhere. Neither is he.
Yeah.
It's just Pete that's leaving.
He'll be around.
Yeah.
He'll be around.
So.
Good. I should have prepared for this part because we saw this one coming, but I didn't. This is the peak performance question presented by Topo Athletic. Use code TREK15 Topo for 15% off your pair of Topo Athletics at topoathletic.com. Top performance enhancing or backpacking hack.
Gosh, I've given so many.
Yeah.
There's no shame in hiding some hot hands in your back. If you know you're coming up to a cold night. No one needs to know, even. If you're still in the phase of your hike where everyone's concerned about base weight and asking about it, don't mention it. Toss 1 or 2 hot hands in your pack if you're coming up to a cold night on an upcoming stretch, and shake them up before bed and put them wherever they need to go to make you warm, and carry them out. They, in the grand scheme of things, don't weigh that much, and it can feel like a little bit of a weak move in the moment when it's like, I've been out here for how long, and I need manufactured heat. You don't need it. Let's not say we need it. We don't. But if you have it, it sometimes is really nice. And I think it's mental blocks that get in the way of that more than anything else. But if you are in a town at the checkout and you see that they are for sale and you are in cold conditions or at cold nighttime conditions, just pick one up. Who cares?
Co-sign on that. I don't know if I think it was Jess brought some on the San Diego Trans-County Trail, and I was the third in line to use them after we started a very cold morning hike, like the cactus was frosting.
Yeah.
And to even get it after 2 other people had access to it was definitely a game changer. I was wearing every single article of clothing with me and stuffed one of them in my hand pocket, and was very happy to have it.
Yeah, it's like when we talk about like giving candy to your inner kid in terms of luring yourself to the top of a hike mountain with a lollipop or some candy or whatever you got to do to get yourself to the top. Same type of mentality. Just give yourself a little hand warmer for the morning that's going to be cold. Yeah. And if you don't need it, great. Keep it at the bottom of your pack with your oatmeal packet that you've never used, and hold on to it for a cold day, and you'll be the MVP.
Yep. I'm going to go with something that is probably repetitive with the most recent episode with Freeborn, but I have no issue getting in shape for a backpacking trip where I'm intimidated by the backpacking trip before we take off. But the thing that I think is most important for me is just to keep some base level of fitness, especially for cardio. Like, I'm pretty good at lifting weights year round, but like finding motivation to go on the stair stepper for 45 minutes on a random Tuesday where you don't have a backpacking trip in sight, sometimes it's hard to get yourself up for that. Just know that you're never too far away from your next backpacking trip, and letting your fitness baseline floor drop too low just makes it so much harder to get back to that baseline, especially as you get older. Just maintain some level of fitness. Not only it's just essential for your health at large, but the next time that you actually do have a backpacking trip, you're going to be so grateful that you're not starting from zero or from scratch. Just find a day or 2 per week to squeeze in some Zone 2 cardio. Zone 2 is easy. You can throw something on Netflix. You can do it early in the morning and it's not too stressful. You can do it late at night before you go to bed. It's not too stressful. You can do it while you do the things that you would do on a couch otherwise. But yeah, just maintain some base level of fitness, even if your next backpacking trip is 6 to 9 months away or even longer than that. Fine.
Here, you open mine. I was gauging how much time we have left on our memory cards versus how much time we have left in the segments, and I think we're good for me to crack open another. What does that do?
Nope. Oh, not too bad.
Shut up. Is that a hack? Did you just do a trick?
I don't know where did I see that?
I thought you were trying to shake it up more. I was like, this is like on camera and rude.
No. So I don't know if this is a real thing, but I picked that up on Better Call Saul.
Shut up.
So this could be totally made up, but there was something about like the centrifugal force of rotating the can before you open it helps to get rid of the carbonation. In that context of the show, it was about a soda.
For a moment I was like, he's trying to shake it up for me, and then I was like, he's opening it next to his computer. He wouldn't do that.
Does rotating a can
it worked
before
2 for 2
opening stop leaks?
Also, I gotta find my Chaunce.
Didn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything
according to the internet.
I don't know. We have 2 cans that say otherwise.
Yeah.
What are these called? Cup holders?
The coasters?
Coasters. I gotta find my Chaunce coaster. I can't leave that with you.
Yeah, I'm on a guest right now, so someone's been breaking in.
Chaunce is coming with me. I refuse.
Right there, right behind you.
Where am I? Oh, you're not coming with me today, but when I leave here, you're coming with me.
Yeah. Yes, obviously.
We get to do the, do you think we'll get to do like how they do in court where the couple sits there and divides the Beanie Babies for all of our gifts?
I'm trying to think. Most of our gifts are consumables, but you can have anything that you want.
I'll take the company. Podcast is moving to North Carolina. Yeah, no, this isn't a think about it now question.
Yeah, right.
I don't even know what gifts I would want. I just want to feel some power.
Yeah.
So.
You've got power. I'm going to do a new file because you have a bonus segment.
Okay. Me again? Oh, yeah.
All right. Now we're back. The Trek propaganda that I want to feature today, this one actually came out a couple of hours before the podcast started, so as is tradition, I did not have a chance to read it. But I saw this one was already making a big splash on the social media for obvious reasons once I say the title of it. Roundup is being sprayed in National Forest. Here's what PCT hikers should know.
Oh, this is not what's on the show notes.
No, this is one that I just pulled. I think this is going to be news for people. So this one I originally saw on Mother Jones by the author Nate Halverson, found that the U.S. Forest Service has been spraying significantly more glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup, across California's national forests, often to suppress broadleaf regrowth after wildfires and logging so commercial conifers can take over. That matters for us because the PCT cuts through 15 national forests in California alone, and the herbicide can persist in soil for anywhere from a few days to over 6 months. The WHO's cancer research arm classifies glyphosate as a probable human carcinogen, while the EPA still maintains it's safe, though Halverson points out that some of the industry-funded studies underpinning the EPA's position have been called into question, including one that was recently retracted. The Forest Service says it posts signs at access points to treatment areas, and the PCTA is reviewing NEPA documents to assess potential impacts on hikers and the water sources they rely on. Something to keep an eye on. So yeah, if you're pulling water from these sections, I mean, you can look at it from the standpoint of a hiker and how that impacts your direct experience, or just more broadly speaking, how badly are we fucking up our planet by spraying these chemicals that have questionable ingredients that some agencies, well-respected agencies, are calling carcinogens. So not a fun one, but a necessary one for the world of backpackers, especially if you're out in the PCT. The link to that one is in the show notes. I assume this question of the day is yours.
No, I thought it would be yours.
Okay.
I would never ask.
Yeah, I know your answer.
Why?
Would you rather give up sauces or kissing?
Which one do you think I would say?
Kissing.
No, I'm going to give up sauces.
You're a wet food person.
But a lover at heart.
Okay.
Yes, I am a wet food person, and I love sauce on all my foods. I love a wet food. But I also like feed off of affection, and I think if I were to lose all kisses, maybe that's an easier answer when you're married, because you're no longer like looking for the person, so like you can just kiss less. Yeah, I'm trying to think about this objectively. Now that I've found the person, could I give up the... Versus when you're looking for the person, you can't give up the kisses.
Sure.
I don't think I could give them up still. I think I think I would start to feel unloved and sad. And so I would rather just be unsatisfied with my food. I'd probably eat less of it and get thin.
You know what's sad is I would be more upset giving up kissing my boys. Because with Jenna, I can give her the best hugs, or we can have sex, or oral sex. There's like a lot of ways to show affection.
Come on, see yourself.
I'm just saying.
That is kissing.
No.
Oral sex? You're kissing with your mouth.
that's not kissing.
You're kissing something.
Listen, if you said that you gave someone a kiss and then you meant you gave them a blowjob, people would be confused. As
if
to
I
what you
said I
meant.
kissed someone on their penis, I think they would think I gave them a blowjob.
Well, you're not like smooching it. It's a different act altogether. If you
You're
are
French kissing it.
I'll give you a lesson.
I didn't even think about the children aspect to it. As a woman who has none, I've not considered not kissing Harper. It's an instant out. There's no way I couldn't look at that tiny little skull and hold that little snooter in my face and then not just.
It also raises the question of what are we calling sauces? Is like ketchup,
That's a sauce.
Mayo,
Sauce,
mustard,
sauce.
like anything that's a liquid condiment. Is
Yes,
that a sauce?
that's all sauces.
I give up kissing.
All sauces. I'm giving up sauces.
I'm giving up
You'd be
kissing.
so fit.
I would give my boys nonstop hugs.
Nope.
Jenna will get different things.
Jenna's getting lots of oral sex.
No, Jenna will get a lot of sauce for sure.
Okay.
But I mean, I eat 2 to 3 times per day, sometimes once during a podcast. And sauces are involved with every meal. That's a big.
You know, it's going to be hard with pasta because pasta sauce.
Yeah, pasta without sauce is impossible. You
I
give
mean,
up
butter
pasta.
noodles. Butter noodles.
Butter's the sauce by this definition.
Butter's butter.
Butter.
It's not a sauce. It melts, but it is a solid.
Okay, then you can only have butter if it's still in its congealed form.
No, it starts off as are you adding any sauce to a pasta that starts off as a hard solid and then melts as you eat it?
I think if we're calling mayonnaise a sauce, then butter has to be
Mayonnaise
considered.
starts liquid. If you had a piece of mayonnaise come out that looked like a butter stick, you would not eat it.
Mayonnaise is gelatinous. I wouldn't call it a liquid.
Exactly. It's gelatinous. Butter is a stick.
Well, butter at a certain temperature is also liquid.
That anything at a certain temperature is liquid. I am a liquid at a certain temperature.
I guess.
Am I a sauce?
Technically true. Maybe you are sauce.
Maybe I am a sauce. I think butter is a loophole. But yeah, no, that would be very hard. All I'm going to say is I'm going to be eating a lot of cereal and steak.
Is milk a sauce?
No, milk is not a sauce. Milk is a soup. Cereal is a soup. It could be a stew.
We got to get the definitions of what constitutes sauce pretty
A sauce, you know what it is. You're pushing your luck. A sauce is a sauce.
I just think I think butter and mayonnaise have to be in the same conversation.
No, because mayonnaise starts off. If you poured mayonnaise into a bowl, it would take the shape of a bowl. If you put a stick of butter into a bowl, it would be a stick of butter.
If you put mayonnaise into a bowl, it's the shape of the spoon that you scoop it into. It's not going to just flatten out.
Yes, it will.
No, it won't.
Yes, it will.
Definitely not.
Sure will.
Definitely not.
Sure will.
No, it'll maintain its shape to a certain extent. I mean, you can't build a perfectly vertical tower with it, but
there's sometimes that I think about, like, are you just fucking with me? This is one of them. Mayonnaise will settle.
If I take out a scoop of mayonnaise and I put it down in something, it's going to maintain the shape minus the physics of me flicking it onto the thing.
After time passes?
Yeah, if you take out a scoop of mayonnaise and just leave it on the spoon, it's going to stay on the spoon indefinitely.
Have you ever done the paper towel test?
I don't know what that is.
Exactly. You see, you don't know mayonnaise. Paper towel test is in school. You take a spoon of mayonnaise and you put it on a paper towel and you look at it and it's fine and nothing happens. And then you leave it there and you observe it over the course of a week and the saturated fats start to expand and the grease bubble expands around it on the paper towels until soon the entire paper towel is just grease.
Yeah, because it's oil.
But it's a case in observing mayonnaise, and you have not spent a week observing mayonnaise, whereas I have spent a week observing mayonnaise, and mayonnaise will flatten with time.
I think if you take a spoon of butter and a spoon of mayonnaise and you just leave the spoons out, they're going to maintain their shape the same way.
I would argue that a butter at room temperature will get softer, but it will not unsquare in the same way that the mayonnaise will.
No, we leave our butter out at room temperature. We leave our butter out.
You're not supposed to do that.
That's the European way.
No. You leave it out at room temperature is the European way in a butter urn that goes into a thing of water that blocks out air.
We have literally a butter tray that sits outside.
When you use the little butter thing that goes into the upside down water, the impression is that you're using butter daily, as in for like a daily toast. And you don't leave it out on the counter daily if you're not using it daily.
Can you leave butter out at room temperature? Yes, you can leave butter out on the counter because of its high fat and low moisture content. Mm-hmm. Butter is hostile to bacterial growth and remains perfectly safe to eat at room temperature. It will stay soft and spreadable for about 1 to 2 weeks, provided it keeps it a covered dish.
As someone who's been making their own butter with their KitchenAid, and
do you disagree with the internet?
I did a lot of research on how to store my butter.
Well, you got to research again.
That when you use the butter urns, it's because you're using it daily, and that it's not meant to be out of the fridge.
No. Oh, the internet disagrees with you?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time.
So yeah, butter and mayonnaise are in the same department for sure.
There's a farmer here that can message us. But we need an American farmer. Because if we have a European farmer, then they are of the mindset that eggs don't go in the fridge. And that is correct for them. But it's not correct for us. So, we need someone learned in the American ways.
Any refined pure fat is shelf stable basically indefinitely. The higher the fat percentage, the longer it tends to last. Heavy cream has about 9x the fat content. Has whole milk, and heavy cream will last for much longer. That's another point. Heavy cream is just butter in a different state.
Yeah, I know. I've been making it.
Butter is 80% fat, so it will last for several months in the fridge easily. It will also last for several days at room temperature, no problem. Salted butter will last even longer than unsalted butter. Yeah, I think mayo and butter are in the same camp.
Okay, we can agree to disagree.
I mean, just facts.
Yeah.
Okay, we do have to improvise on the Triple Crown here because, unfortunately, my soundboard appears to be broken.
That's fine. We can do Ways to Die. We could do,
Let's do Ways to Die.
Okay. Like ways you would want to die?
The best ways to die. And obviously, I should say the least bad ways to die.
Okay, I'll start. Very old in my sleep.
Okay.
That's ideally how it happens.
Yeah. I think we have done this because I was about to say something that I feel like is repetition.
We could pivot to worst ways to die in a shark's jaws.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay, worst ways to die. Worst ways to die, burning alive. I do think if I was in the 1600s, I would be considered a witch, and that they would burn me. And
especially for your butter versus mayonnaise take.
And for just like my inability to shut the fuck up.
And your red hair.
I would say something wrong. I would say something wrong. I hate to lose. And so, I would get burned alive. And that would be very difficult and trying and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, burning alive.
It's a good one. I'm going to go with grizzly attack.
Yeah.
In the movie Grizzly Man, the director listens to the audio track of the guy that ultimately, spoiler alert, dies getting eaten by a grizzly. And, like, that's the one thing that he had to leave off the documentary because it was so graphic and upsetting that the clip from the documentary is just him listening to the audio track being disturbed by it.
Does it make me fucked up that I want to see that? Like, I want to see those things. Like, not in, like, a joyous way. Like, I'm not saying I want to see it because it excites me. I have such a level of curiosity where, I stopped watching Shark Week because no one got eaten by sharks. And, like, does that, like, I'm not a serial killer.
Yeah.
I'm not a harmful person. But, there's a part of me that's curious.
There is something, I think, innate in humans, like the train wreck effect, where, like, an accident happens and people, like, really want to see the wreckage.
The rubbernecking.
Yeah. I think that's not atypical for sure.
But that's a good one, the grizzly.
Next one, I'm going to go a little bit more general. I'm sure this has probably hit a lot of people, but just, like, slowly with cancer. That is really sad. We're just, like, you lose all your ability to survive, and slowly stuff gets stripped away from you, and you have to go through months of chemo and radiation. I mean, it's nice that you get to say goodbye to your family, but man, if I had to choose how to pass, I would want to go quickly, and having it be drawn out like that, my heart goes out to anyone that has had to deal with that firsthand. Yeah,
I feel like, granted, we are doing a triple crown of ways to die. I feel like you just said a real way. And, like, granted, being burned alive is a real way, and as is a grizzly, but they're just so less common.
Yeah.
That, like, we can talk about them in a way where it's like, yeah, that'd suck, and it's not, like, a realistic option, whereas that's very real. Yeah. So that's kind of killed the mood.
It is a buzzkill for sure. But yeah. It's just, I feel like that's a normal human fear.
Sure.
Cancer fucking sucks. Fuck cancer.
My next one is going to be drowning. Something about, like, the waiting and the helplessness. Like, imagine just, like, you're going underwater and you can see the surface and it's getting farther away because you're sinking because maybe you have a rock tied to you or something, and it's just going further away and you can't get up to it, and, like, you feel like you can't hold your breath anymore, and it's just, like, that acceptance of like, I can't, I'm powerless in this,
Yeah.
you know, and then you just have to suffocate. That sucks.
Yeah, for sure. Although I have read, I don't know, like once you get to the actual drowning, like the anticipation of it.
Yes, it's quite euphoric.
It's
I've heard.
Or peaceful. I don't even know what the correct terminology is, but
I've tried to hold my breath that long underwater, and I think there is a point of panic and like bad that comes before the peace.
Yeah.
And I don't want the panic and bad.
Yeah.
I just want the peace.
Yeah.
The next one's hard because I've got two, so one's gonna have to be an honorable mention. But for the sake of all the drugs I take when I fly, I would be remiss to not say death by flying, like a plane crash. I think I fear it too much to not mention it. Otherwise, if it's not my top 4 fears of how to go, why waste so much effort on it? But it goes back to the helplessness and the lack of control. So themes a psychiatrist could break apart for me. But like when there was that one of the pilot that flew into that mountain in Germany or wherever it was because he was suicidal or whatever had happened there, and everyone could see the mountain coming, something about like seeing it coming, or like I envision oftentimes when I'm flying like the plane getting knocked by turbulence and then just spiraling down, and just like it speeds up and you're going down and it's getting faster and there's no fixing it, and like all is lost and you're just in those few moments of waiting for the final impact. That plagues me and keeps me up at, like on flights and at night.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I would rank it below my honorable mention, but my honorable mention is just so far from likely that, and I just fixate on this one so much that I couldn't leave it off.
Okay. Give it in a second. My last one is kind of conversely to the trope that you see here. Like if somebody dies while they're through hiking, like at least they died doing something that they loved.
I hope no one ever says that about me.
If I died doing something where I was like talked into going to do, if I was climbing or something like that, and someone like egged me on to do it, and then I died doing something that I didn't feel passionate about, or like mountain biking where I'm just nervous the entire time, doing something that it wasn't actually a passion of mine, but I felt like I was doing it to like prove my mettle or just like fit in, that'd be a bad one. I think I would be okay. I'd be better with like passing while through hiking, even if it was a grizzly attack, because like I love being out in wilderness. But like if the climbing one, for example, my fear of heights is strong enough that if I was doing that to just like fit in with the group and then I fell off the rock and died, that's a boner move.
Yeah, I hope that no one ever says I died doing something I loved, because the thing is that I don't love anything enough to die while doing it and like be like, at least I died doing something. No, I'd rather be alive. And like if I died while hiking and they were like, oh, all she is hiking, that's all there is to her, she died doing something she loved, at least, chances are no, I died because I like was suffocating at a desk and needed to get outside to like refine my sanity, and this is like a means to an end, you know. Like it's not like she wasn't living in absolute bliss amongst the wildflowers without a fear in her world and she happened to perish, you know, amongst forest friends. No, wouldn't be like that. I just like, I don't know, I think any of the, at least they died doing with it, fuck that, you know. Like I'm sure they'd rather be here.
Yeah, but
I would.
I mean, obviously, I shouldn't say everyone, but I think most like normal happy people don't want to die under any circumstance. But like I don't ever regret going on a backpacking trip, and if I got like struck by lightning and died in that circumstance, I wouldn't want to die. But if I was going to die, fuck yeah.
No, because I love backpacking, but you know what? Some of the worst ways to die can happen backpacking. I do not want to get mauled by a bear. I do not want to get mauled by a mountain lion. I don't want to get lost and starve. I don't want to die of dehydration or hypothermia. I don't want any of these things. Extreme cold exposure. Any of that. No, thank you. I would like to die very old in my sleep and not know what happened. And I'd like to die first. I told this to Garrett and I was very adamant about it. I said, I will go first. And that's that. And so
you've got 5 extra years, and he's 5 years younger than you?
No, he's 2 years younger,
okay.
But I knew I had a 5-year buffer to compensate for, so we date young, not high, in that regard. In terms of a 5-year buffer. No, because women live 5 years longer.
That's what I'm saying.
So he's 2 years younger.
So it'll be a 7-year gap.
No, he's 2 years younger. So that's 2 years that is extra.
Yeah.
It's bonus too.
Yeah.
So I'm working with a deficit of 3 right now, which is better than 5. But all I'm saying is all the ways I could die while hiking are some of the last ways I would want to die. And if I got mauled by a grizzly bear and some fucking schmuck on the internet was like, well, at least she died doing what she loved, I'd be sitting up there mauled to death in heaven or in the pits of hell being like, I actually would have really preferred other ways.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't care how much I love something. I would have preferred other ways.
Yeah. I mean, the death itself is not good, but like the context around the death.
You're not there to hear it.
If I got struck by lightning, I wouldn't even be cognizant of it.
Well, that one, I'm not saying anti that. Like, if it's a quick one and done, smite me, almighty smiter.
Yeah. But I mean, like, if I'm enjoying the day before as opposed to like climbing where I'm not enjoying it the entire time and then I died because I just made a bonehead mistake, to me that just lands very differently.
I'll put a caveat for anything instant. Like, if I'm doing something I love and someone just goes and flips the life switch on the back of my head and it turns off and I just...
Yeah.
Fine.
No
I don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's just like the waiting for it, the dread of it, the like, the bear's got my leg and soon it's going to be my torso.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Or want it. Nor would I want people being like, she loved it. No, she didn't. She didn't want that.
I don't think anyone's saying that they loved the death. I don't think that's the
but
accurate.
like that's kind of what they said. Well, at least it was doing what they loved. Like, okay. I don't know. That's a stupid phrase. I hate it.
Yeah.
My honorable mention is like meticulous torture. Like, think about Game of Thrones with who's the fucking guy?
Yeah.
The guy with the sister that's the sailors and he
got his dick removed.
Yeah. Oh fuck, what was his name?
Game of Thrones penis removed.
Yeah, what's his name?
Theon
Greyjoy.
Yeah.
Yes, the Greyjoys. Theon Greyjoy. Something like that, where like they come in and they peel all your fingernails back first, and then they peel all the skin, and then like his banner, the Greyjoy banner, I believe, was the flayed man, if I'm correct, and it was a guy with his arms out and his legs out, and he was flayed, and he had just been skinned alive, and then they did other things, and I'm like, can you imagine being skinned alive and then they do other things?
Yeah.
And so, you know, you just got to sit there and just let them pull off all your skin and fingernails and do whatever they do. And then, and this comes up a lot in the mile by mile research because, you know, back in the early exploration days, there were some fucking gruesome deaths. And some of this shit you read about, you're like, ooh, I would really not like that. And that, for me, I put it as an honorable mention because it's much less likely than I would say dying in a plane, because someone would need a motive and a means of kidnapping and to not get caught and to then have me there. And
I mean, you could die in a plane without a motive.
Well, I'm just saying, to capture and torture me and flay me, you would need like some sort of ill will against me. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to jinx it. You know, like, don't come for me just 'cause. But I feel like that one is a little further of a stretch than like a miscellaneous plane crash.
Yeah.
But I also would not very much enjoy being tortured alive.
I do want to move on from the subject because I think it is depressingly morbid, but I have to, for my one honorable mention, I'm going to do a callback to Wolf of Wall Street, where they think their yacht is sinking, and he makes Jonah Hill go to get the drugs. He's like, I'm not fucking dying sober! You go get those drugs! If I could die with drugs and like a lot of drugs in my system to kind of like,
I would take every drug. Every single HR corporate thing I've said that is kosher up until this point, and I am a very good girl, let the record state. I would take every drug because my fear is the anticipation.
Sure.
I don't want to anticipate. I don't want to wait for it. Just take me.
In a lot of ways, I think that's the most compassionate way that we let people pass is like in a hospital is we give them drugs to allow them to do that. Or even like thinking of our animals like...
That's like voluntary euthanasia.
Yeah. I would want to do it with, to your point, just the cocktail of the most intense drugs where... Not the uppers. The uppers would be bad.
I would want all the intense drugs. I would want them presented to me on like a Russian roulette tray where it maybe like I don't know enough about drugs to know how this works, but picture like 6 needles on a Russian roulette tray and 5 of them are like really great drugs and one of them is my euthanasia.
Sure.
I would love that because by the time I have my 3rd trip and I'm like, this is great, let's keep going, and then I euthanize myself, I don't even know. What a wonderful way.
If I could have the option to like chug a full bottle of whiskey before whatever was going to happen, that would be the preferred way to go.
I think I'm going to have a conversation with Garrett about this, because we do have that 3-year lag in the 5-year situation that we're working with. And I do think if I got to the point where it was like she's suffering and it's inevitable and she's got like 2 weeks left, like granted, if she's got time, let's not. But if it's like, listen, she's going this week and she's suffering no matter what.
Yeah.
What can he inject in me when no one's looking that won't get him in jail?
Aren't there states where euthanasia is legal?
Yeah, but to choose it, then I'm waiting again. I'm not talking about that, because I don't want to choose it and go to it and wait for it and anticipate it. That's the whole fear. My thought process is he could do me a solid and just like slip something into my tea one night.
The states where...
There's a dual one too. There's one where you can go in with a partner.
Ooh.
And you can both push together, but if you don't push the button, nothing happens.
Known as death with dignity.
Yeah.
California, Colorado.
I think Washington too.
Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico,
I
New
think
York,
you need a good reason.
Oregon, Vermont, Washington, D.C.
I do think you need a good reason. I don't think you could just be like, I'm sick of this shit.
I would find a good doctor.
What, to get around the loophole? You can't just be like, I'm done.
I have a
That's
feeling
where they make you find your own sources.
if you wield enough power, you could probably find a doctor who's willing to be compassionate.
Yeah, or Garrett.
Or Garrett.
So that's
Dr. Garrett.
I've got to talk to him about that plan.
Yeah.
And this is a very old age type of plan where it's like she's suffering and she's had a good life. This isn't like a tomorrow thing. I'm not at risk. We're fine. We're on a very regulated cocktail of meds that we've worked on for the past 5 months.
We should all be lucky enough to have the best just milk of the poppy to let us fade into the next realm.
And what a wonderful word. Like, milk of the poppy just sounds so nice.
Yep.
I would love some milk of the poppy.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
it's sweet. I can't believe you don't watch Game of Thrones. It comes up often.
I do.
You said you don't.
I've watched every episode multiple times. I was the one that knew the dickless guy. What are you talking about?
I know, but we just had a conversation where you said you didn't. We talked about how Garrett didn't like dragons, and you said you didn't like fantasy. I swear to God, you said you didn't like
I've said many times I don't like fantasy, and that Game of Thrones was my exception because
someone. I'm not thinking of you then. Someone recently said they don't watch it.
No,
it couldn't have been you.
I'm a proponent of Game of Thrones. We've talked. We've done the Triple Crown of villains, and Joffrey has been at the top. Of my
had
list.
to get Garrett to watch it because he was anti-dragons, and so he wouldn't watch it because he didn't like dragons. And I was like, Garrett, that is, and it wasn't you. Fine, someone. I've had a very similar conversation recently where they're not into fantasy and they don't like dragons. And I'm like, can I explain to you how not the plot that is?
Yeah.
So.
I could also be put off by the concept of dragons. I think what sucked me into Game of Thrones was all the nudity first. What I
watched with my mom.
That's a tough.
We weren't even that close.
That's a tough
and
one.
There's boobs and
a lot of boobs.
Everything.
Like unnecessary boobs too. Even
just like the women licking women.
Yeah. What I want.
Men licking women. Really, it doesn't matter who's licking who. Just a lot of licking happening in front of my mother.
Game of Thrones is excellent. But what I want for the second watch through is someone needs to go through and edit down the series to like remove all the like boring episodes and even like the slow parts. Like I just want the reels version of Game of Thrones because I want to watch it again, but I can't commit. I just remember there being so many episodes where it's so fucking slow. Like I've watched an hour-long episode and like you're developing characters that aren't even essential to this plot.
You gotta just rewatch it because the more you watch it, the more you pick up on subtleties you missed the previous times. And as someone who rewatches Gilmore Girls every fall when it becomes La 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 season, when it becomes snow season, I rewatch Game of Thrones. I've seen it about 8 times. Every time you watch it, you pick up on one sentence more that you're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
crazy.
This is a seed for something else. That's what I appreciate about Game of Thrones. Is I just feel like not Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad. There's less wasted plot time per capita.
Oh, couldn't convince me Game of Thrones had wasted plot time. You can convince me that the writers got lazy because they went to Star Wars and they were trying to wrap it up. And that's
the
why the last season
of Game
sucked.
of Thrones. 2 seasons, I'll say.
But I would also say I watched the last 2 seasons from Trail because it was 17 and 19 because they skipped a year. And so to be in the middle of the woods, in the dark, in the middle of fucking nowhere with just nature sounds and nothing for miles, and to watch an episode of that on a phone with like a group in front of a shelter is you can't match that mood, especially an episode you've never seen before. Battle of the Bastards.
Battle of Bastards is great.
On a mountain peak.
So good.
In fucking Washington.
That's an all-time.
It was like I don't think anyone could take my Game of Thrones viewing experience from me because of just, you couldn't have lined that shit up if you tried, and it was just so. And also,
was 19 the last season? I feel
yeah,
like it was more
they
recent.
took it. No, they took a season off. So 18 was the season I did the Colorado Trail. They didn't do it that season. But 17, I think the thing that was also crazy was like on the PCT, you never have cell reception really that much on the northern half.
Yeah.
And we would strategically plan our not just the day, but the resupply stretch around which peak is our most, like before we leave town, which peak is our most likely peak to get cell reception Sunday night. So we can sit around this phone and watch Game of Thrones.
Sure.
And Sunday night would come and you'd push to the peak of this peak. And there was one time where we didn't have cell reception and there was like another mountain to climb that was just like not PCT, but just like the mountain itself.
Yeah.
We fucking went up it.
Yeah.
Because bonus miles don't count when you got that shit. But it was great. Oh my God, so good.
Game of Thrones in its prime is untouchable.
So
sure.
good. And House of Dragons is great. Night of the Seven Kingdoms has been great.
I never got into the spin-offs.
They're great. And they build this. It's all the same story. And there's so many references. There's so many times in Game of Thrones where like Bran's in bed and the night nurse is like, "Have I told you the story of?" And it's the fucking guy in,
Yeah.
Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah.
Crazy.
A lot of plots. Oh, and the Triple Crown was brought to you by Onyx Backcountry.
Yes.
Use code TREK70 to save 70% off a premium plan with Onyx Backcountry. That's it.
Yeah.
Mailbag.
Mailbag. Hello, just found your podcast and I'm so excited to learn from you all. I'm listening to the 9 tips for hiking the AT in 2026. I am writing a proposal to my work to request a paid sabbatical and sponsorship. Any tips to getting things like this approved from Tabitha? You just did a video on this, and by you I mean Jess.
Well, the video was based off of an excellent article on the Trek. Did we feature this one as a Trek propaganda?
Maybe.
But I will give a shout out to this email because this is what prompted the article. So thank you to Tabitha for the idea. But yes, on April 21st, we did paid sabbatical for backpacking, how to thru-hike without quitting your job. I posed that question verbatim on Instagram and got back a couple of excellent answers on that. So I highly encourage you to check out this article.
Sorry, I just swallowed down the wrong throat.
Getting a paid sabbatical is a difficult thing. I'll set that expectation is most companies are not going to pay you, especially if you're going to do a half year through hike. I think doing something like the JMT or the Colorado Trail is much more realistic. But even just to have the security of a job when you come back from a through hike is a major score, which a lot of companies don't do. So
yeah.
I would highly encourage you to check out the article, which we will link in the show notes. I'll make a note.
Quick tips?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Quick tips. Make yourself as invaluable as possible before proposing it. And make this a long game. So if you know you want to hike in X year and you're at this job and it is X amount of months / whatever ahead of time, there's no harm in playing the game. Make yourself really valuable. Find things that no one wants to do and do them with gusto and be excited about them and just make it something where it's just like, man, I can't imagine not having her here. Like if Rachel were to give us notice, we would die. And make yourself really invaluable. And then when you make your ask, there's more at stake. Also, you can ask for unpaid leave. I did that for the JMT because I worked at a job that gave 14 days of PTO a year that you had to accrue and earn into, and the JMT was 21. It was never going to happen. And so I started planting the seed far earlier in my skip levels where it was like, hey, if next year I were to want to do this, would that even be feasible? And there's so low risk when you're that far out and you'd be like, hey, if next year, you're just spitballing ideas. They don't take it seriously. But then follow up. And then your next skip level will be like, yeah, so if next year I were to do this, like really what would need to be in place before then? And they'd be like, oh, well, you need to have all your PTO. And you'd be like, oh, well, I only get 2 weeks. So like it wouldn't really make sense. But like my gosh, it'd be so like terrible to have to leave just because of that minor discrepancy, you know? And just slowly make it more real. Plant the seed early as a joke, not even as a joke, but in a way that has no constraints or seriousness to it, so that they are thinking about it, and then slowly rein it in. And then as you get closer, they can't say, well, you never told me, because you've been joking about it with them for like a year, right? And then you start bringing up like, well, how do we make this work? Who do I need to reach out to? What can I do? What can you do to facilitate me? And now this person has been working with you on this idea for a year, and you're asking them how to facilitate you. What are they going to do? Say no? And then you go to HR and you're like, hey, I've been talking to this person about this for a year and now they won't help me. That's weird, right? Like, not that you would do that because we're not weaponizing this stuff, but you could see from their perspective how the more you talk about it, the more real it makes it, and the more people want to work with you. Needless to say, I went and did the JMT. They actually, I don't think, put me unpaid. I completely negotiated unpaid. I think it was actually easier for them to leave me on payroll, and so I think they did. And I never asked about it. But I think early and often, make it a joke, make it a gag, make it a little bit, while taking on tasks that no one wants to do with gusto. Because you can't be annoying while you're helping someone with problems that they don't want to do themselves, right? You can only be annoying while not doing extra stuff, and then you're just annoying. So balance it where you're oh my god, I can't believe she's doing all this extra stuff. She's great, da-da-da. And she's kind of fucking annoying about this idea, but I don't know who else would do this shit, so I've got to listen to her. That's my advice, is start early and often. Don't plant it as an absolute, because you don't want to be like, hey, I'm doing this next year. What do you think? Because then they're like, well, then you're not going to be here, right? But it's like, hey, to fill my cup and feel fulfilled, something like this could be great. I was thinking it would work over this time. What do you think? And then you're not giving them an ultimatum. So that's my 2 cents.
I mean, I think in terms of career advice, making yourself invaluable is important in so many regards in terms of advancing up the career ladder, but especially for something like this where as someone that hires someone, you can't let people go that are essential to what you do as a business. And you are in full control of that. Take on tasks beyond your job description. Be the best, and you'll have job security no matter what. I
think you just said it, though. I think that for someone like me, my job will never be my life. Sorry if you're listening to this and you're my job. We weren't built to work. Anyway, I think what you said was so key, where it was the best way to move up in the career ladder is to take on extra work.
Yeah.
I don't want to move up in the career ladder.
Sure.
So I don't want to take on extra work. What I'm saying is sometimes also the best way to move down in the career ladder or stay the same is to take on extra work, because the goal isn't what's best for the company. The goal is what's best for you. And if what's best for you is getting out on trail next year, you might have absolutely no freaking ambition of moving up in the company. And the classic adage would be take on more work to show you're valuable so that you get moved up. But if that's not of interest of you, you're going to tune that out. Sure. What I'm saying is you can still take on extra work without the goal being to move up in the company. It can be to mold the company to what you want it to be for you. And as long as what you're saying, you prove yourself invaluable, you're kind of leaving them up Schitt's Creek without a paddle if if they say no. And that's really the motive, is just put them in a position where they can't say no to you.
Yeah. I mean, this maybe is a bigger conversation of if you don't like your job and the idea of doing more of your work. It's probably a good reflection of maybe just go to Thru-Hike, because even if you don't come back to that job, you could land in something happier. But I think even if you just are working 40 hours per week, I have been there myself, and I have friends that probably I could say this about, where they just fuck off for a good portion of their workday. Even with 40 hours per week, you could make yourself to be an excellent employee. If you despise doing that for the company that you're working for, again, probably a bigger conversation. I'll also give a plug to the Trek, because we have 3 weeks of paid thru-hiking time as part of our handbook, which is even separate from the vacation policy. Yeah, or nothing right now, but that's why when the jobs become available, you have to be subscribed to the Trek newsletter, because that is a perk of working at the Trek. But right now, I'm not hiring full time.
Okay, well, when you are, let me know. Is it remote?
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I wish we had an infinite budget. We're bootstrapping it. So.
Where would you put me?
In the mailroom.
It's honestly so fair. Mailbag.
Mailbag.
Speaking of, I am a fan. Nope, that's a 5-star review. Sorry. Hello, just found your podcast, and I am so excited to learn from you all. I'm listening to... We just read this. I just read
you're
this.
doing the mailbag. No, I'll do the 5-star
No, that's
review.
what I thought I was segueing a 5-star review, and then I was like, wait.
Yeah.
No, we just did that.
5-star review. This is from Yes Carb or S Carb 78. I'm a fan. I love listening to your podcast. I look forward to each episode and love listening on my way home from work. I have learned tips and tricks for being on the trail. I live in San Diego and I'm a local hiker, but one day hope to find myself doing the PCT, maybe when I retire. I really enjoyed this podcast. Thank you for making me laugh and drawing me in. By the way, the Leech scene is in the movie Stand By Me. So apparently...
No, it's in The Great Panda.
There's
Escape.
We went over this. Both are correct. There is a Leech scene in Stand By Me. We went over this during...
The Great Panda Adventure, sorry. No. Because he can't just say, by the way, the Leech scene was in this movie. This is a Leech scene that we brought up and talked about. It is in what we referenced it being in, which is The Great Panda Adventure, which is a wholesome, family-oriented movie that everyone should watch.
Okay.
Wasn't Stand By Me.
Yeah.
It could also be in Stand By Me.
It definitely is in Stand By Me.
But it wasn't the scene that we referenced.
Sure. We talked about this in the previous podcast, but there is a Leech scene in Stand By Me where there's a leech attached to his penis and he has to pull it off.
No, I'm talking about the poaching movie.
Yeah. But Stand By Me is also an excellent movie.
Right.
And I think we said this in the previous podcast, but that's a Rob Reiner movie. Reiner movie. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Thank you to today's title sponsor, that is Topo Athletic. These shoes are the shit. I have been rocking the Pursuit 2s exclusively on trail are we going on a year and a half now?
I've lost concept of time.
Yeah, but they are amazing. I can't wait to check out the Mountain Racers, but if you like low to zero drop shoes with very durable uppers and aggressive Vibram tread, Topos are just the best. They are taken over in the thru-hiking world, and they are taken over in this podcast. And you can use our code Topo. Wait, no.
Track 15 Topo.
There it is.
Look at that recall.
Why do I have the wrong code? Okay.
I don't know.
I've got two different show notes. Track 15 Topo to save 15% off your next pair of Topo Athletics. They are genuinely awesome. You have anything you want to add?
No news is good news. They're not doing anything to me that would cause extra thought in my brain. And so as long as that happens, they are still great. And I just again, I've said this before, but it is a boring ad endorsement when I'm just like, yeah, no updates. Like, that's great. What for? But at the same time, when it comes to something like this, I do think that is my strongest selling point that I have, at least in my experience with them, is that the longer I go without anything notable to say, the longer you know that they are just performing the way they should be, and nothing has happened where I would need to be like, I need a new pair, or I'm still on the first pair I tested for them. I'm still on the first pair I used when we started doing advertisements for them. I have no need for a new pair because I'm not about to go hike a 3,000-mile long trail, so I don't need to refresh my shoes right before it. I am doing recreational weekend hikes and walks with my dog and time in the park, and for the wear and tear I'm putting on them, I don't know, is it a year and a half, is it 2 years, how long is it, I don't know. The shoes are absolutely fine, and there is nothing to write home about them, and sometimes the most boring detail is the best detailed, because they could have frayed something or blown out something or tight something or worn down something, and that would all be stuff to report. I have nothing to report, which means that it's all quiet on the home front and things are just working the way they should, and that is literally all you can ask of a shoe.
Yeah. They are a great sponsor, not only to this podcast, but just by the fact that we genuinely use and love their products. So
I have again, shoes are something where I really, really need a new pair before I will get one, because I feel immense wastefulness, because for me, if I get a new pair of shoes, I'm not throwing the old pair out. I'm thinking, well, if there's something shit that I need to take them on, at least I have this shit pair of shoes.
Yep.
And then you end up with a pile of shit pairs of shoes, and so it's I don't want to replace any shoe before I need to, because I'm going to feel too much guilt to throw out the bad pair in case I have something I need to wear the bad pair on. I don't know what that would be. Maybe this is a personal block, but it's just miss me with colorful advertising or any gimmicks or anything like that. If this is 2 years into wearing one pair of shoes and I have no desire to change, that's a win.
Yeah. Wide toe box, 0 to low drop, very good tread, durable as fuck. That's all the ingredients that you need for a good thru-hiking trip.
Yeah,
so
she's happy.
check them out. Also, thank you to Onyx Backcountry. User code TREK70 to save 70% off a premium plan with Onyx Backcountry. Again, this is a really, really, really good and intuitive navigation app. I use it all the time. I fucking love it.
Yeah, user-friendly is the big takeaway for this. There's other ones that do similar things that are not user-friendly, and I close them out immediately because I just get overwhelmed. And Onyx, I have felt like it's been approachable. I've felt like I can understand it, that I can make sense of it, that it can do all the crazy things that some other ones can't, but not in a format that just like laughs at me out the door.
Yeah. Super big thank you to the Bob Peoples Award winners on Patreon. That is Alex and Misty with Navigators Crafting, Alex Kindle, Andrew, Austin McDaniel, Bill Jensen, Brad and Blair from 13 Adventures, Brent Mullins, a.k.a. Cruzy, Brian Alsop,
Fables,
Carl Lobster Hood, Christopher Marshburn, Clint Sittler, Coach from Marine Outdoors, Eric Casper,
The Friendly Ghost,
Eric Hoffman, Ethan Harwell Dunn, Jillian Daniels, Greg Knight, Greg Martin, Griffin Hay, Would You Bring Me a Beer, Haley Buckingham,
Palace,
Jackson Storm,
Trooper,
Jared Knott from Subway, Jason Kaiser, Jason, Zach is a little donkey girl, Snailer.
Barely Know Her, didn't say that last time.
Nice work. Luke Netjas, Maddie in Arizona, Patrick C. in Seattle, Randy Sutherland, Rebecca Brave.
Heart.
Yeah, that was supposed to be mine, and I didn't do
Whatever.
it. And you filled in the gaps. That's teamwork right there.
We know each other.
Rural Juror, Sawyer Products, the St. Louis Shaman, Timothy Hahn,
Solo.
and Tracy Trigger. Thanks to our guy, Paulie, at Old Man Murph's Coffee Roasters. Go to ommcr.com. Get yourself some delicious beans. We love Paulie.
Yes, we do.
You can follow us on social at Backpacker Radio on Instagram and TikTok and Threads, Backpacker Radio, or Facebook.com/Backpacker Radio. You can follow Chaunce.
You can find me on Instagram at Juliana_Chanty, on YouTube at Juliana Chanty, and you can get my book, Hiking From Home, a long-distance hiking guide for family and friends, on Amazon.
Appalachian Trails and Pacific Crest Trails are my books. Chaunce and I will be very appreciative of a review. Also, check out the Treks YouTube. We're doing some fucking awesome shit with the YouTube nowadays. As of this release, I think we're 4 episodes deep on the Andrew Skirka series, which has been a big hit. No fucking shocker there. We're going to be doing more of these, so go to the Treks YouTube, subscribe. Speaking of subscribing, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow Backpacker Radio on YouTube.
Hi, Internet.
And that is it for the Zach and Chaunce solo recap. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye
And happy
forever.
hiking.
Bye.